It's 31 days to go for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Good morning and a very welcome to the AM show. My name is Sweetie Aboshi. Now this morning, we start by serving you the AM news like we always do from the beginning of the show. And after we serve you the details and updates on everything happening in and around the country and beyond, we'll sit with our guests to review the stories that have been captured in the newspapers. For News Review today being a Wednesday, Dr. Kwame Asante, he's head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and he'll be joining us to review the newspapers. And after that, Muftan Abel Abdullahi comes your way with AM Sports. What are we doing for our big stories today? Obviously, the biggest story right now, the United States of America's elections. And signs are looking good for Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential elections, who's currently leading the Electoral College. But a bit of an uphill too for Kamala, who needs 3 key states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, to stay in the race. We'll continue our coverage and the analysis of the elections. Can history really be made for Kamala Harris? And what does a Republican or Democratic win mean for Ghana and the African continent? Join us as we delve into these matters. Across all social media handles, all social media platforms, we are Joy News on TV. You want to stay with us and bring your comments as we go. But right now, let's start with the AM news. Please keep watching. Let's get into the news here on the AM show, starting with confusion has rocked the Ghana Freedom Party over its 2024 presidential bid following the death of founder and flag bearer Ikuya Donkor. Now, the Electoral Commission granted the party 10 days to nominate a new candidate, but internal divisions have led to conflicting submissions. The General Secretary named running mate Philip Apiakubi as the new candidate, while the party's organizer submitted a separate letter stating the party's withdrawal from the race. Well, Joy News has been speaking to the party officials who signed these documents. First, listen to what the General Secretary has been saying.
I'm the General Secretary, George Afo, and I can tell you that we have successfully filed our nomination form at 107 at EC. So you can check from the EC and verify it with our pieces, 4 pieces that GFP have, Tafo Pankrono, Mahamudu Bawumia, and other 2 constituencies. They were all there. All our 4 pieces were there. So in the picture that is circulating, you can see them.
What about your National Executive Committee members? I'm
the Chief Executive of the party. It is not true.
And this filing also has the blessings of the family of the late Madam Ikuya Donkor.
Does the EC deal with family or that it deals with the party? The EC has wrote to the party that we have 10 days to replace our late founder and flag bearer.
Okay.
And the party has done exactly that. So if the EC wanted to deal with the family, fine.
We can now listen to the organizer who insists the party is not contesting.
We made a decision that we are not going to contest for this year 2024 because we lost our founder of the party. And we haven't even taken the decision for even the 1-week observation yet. So we have decided, with the net and and the family, the flag family, that after we finish, we set up the 1 week before we can make a decision for next year. That is the proposal we have made for the next year contesting of the election of 2028. This year, we are not going to contest. We wasn't aware with the decision we took and the submission of the presidential nominee to the EC.
If you say you weren't aware, who wasn't aware?
The next and the next and I wasn't aware of the decision they made this morning.
Now, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfred Yeboadame, is moving to arbitration in all contractual disputes involving the state, dealt with here in Ghana. Currently, disputes between the state and companies that are being arbitrated are handled outside of Ghana, especially in Western countries. Citing the vulnerability of arbitration to fraud and abuse, Godfred Ame says efforts are underway to amend the Contract Act to make Ghana the seat of all arbitration involving the state. And he was speaking at the first ever Public Sector Lawyers Conference in Accra.
Governing arbitration and the institution of civil claims against the state, whilst taking a critical look at contracting and contract management on behalf of the state. Mr. President, as I recently noted at the African Regional Forum at the International Bar Association Conference held in Mexico City, Mexico, we cannot discount the prejudice Ghana and the whole of Africa in general often suffers in international arbitration fora. It is quite curious that in some instances, companies which fail to make out any claim in our domestic courts succeed in extremely huge international arbitration actions, sometimes mounted on the back of contracts which have failed to receive the relevant statutory and constitutional approvals of the countries in which they operate. This phenomenon is not because of a weakness of judicial systems of African countries, or indeed Ghana's, but simply because of the nature of international arbitration, particularly the secrecy of proceedings, flexibility of rules, and the finality or non-appealability of awards, which I've just referred to. It should not be misconstrued as saying that Ghana or any African nation should shy away from international arbitration. Far from that. However, the vulnerability of arbitration to abuse and fraud highlights the necessity for more robust safeguards in commercial disputes involving state parties, where the hard purse of the nation is at stake. We must boost the integrity of our legal systems by setting up fair and efficient mechanisms for commercial dispute adjudication and strengthening the systems for the conduct of arbitration in our respective countries. But I still recognize that there's a need to make further reform to the pursuit of arbitration against the state. Thus, I recently presented to Cabinet a proposed amendment to the State Property and Contract Act of 1960 to compel all contracts involving the state and its agencies as parties to not only stipulate Ghana law as a governing law, but also to have Ghana as the seat of arbitration, and with the ADR Center in Ghana being the venue for the arbitration.
Well, the Attorney General also says Ghana's economy would have collapsed if some arbitration challenges against the state were successful. Now, according to him, the state would have paid in excess of $9 billion in international arbitral awards, with about 16 trillion Ghana cedis in local actions filed against the state.
There are certain glaring dangers that I think arbitration portends for Ghana and the developing world, which seem to be overlooked. Whilst arbitration is started to assure neutrality, privacy, and efficiency in the adjudication of disputes, arbitral claims filed against the government, if not diligently managed, have the tendency to collapse the entire Ghanaian economy. A single arbitral claim, if successful, can bring the economy of a developing country as Ghana to its knees. In point of fact, over the past 4 years, the value of arbitral claims against the Republic has been in excess of $9 billion. And I cite a few to illustrate the point. The financial claim by ENI Vitor against Ghana, which was initially $7 billion and subsequently reduced to $915 million after challenge in the course of proceedings by Ghana. In fact, any of these amounts, $7 billion or $950 million, could have collapsed the Ghanaian economy. By the grace of God, this financial claim was recently dismissed in its entirety by the International Arbitral Tribunal. Cassius Bindings Limited's claim against the government of Ghana has a value of about $300 million. GCNet's arbitral claim involves a claim of over 4 billion Ghana cedis, the equivalent of about $250 million. The recently filed Eland arbitration claim against the government of Ghana also involves a claim of over $320 million. These are just a sample of a few of the international arbitration claims against Ghana. Domestically, there have been claims in Ghana in excess of over 15 trillion Ghana cedis, successfully defended by the Office of Attorney General against the state.
Meanwhile, at the same event, President Akufo-Addo says he is committed to ensuring lawyers in the public sector are well-resourced to deliver their responsibilities.
My government's commitment to the legal sector extends to the development of infrastructure, is evidenced by the construction of 100 courthouses across the country and the development of 121 residential units nationwide for judges, alongside the construction of the magnificent 10-story law house in Accra, which will soon house the Office of the Attorney General. We're also undertaking the historic endeavor of calling some 4,500 lawyers to the bar since October 2021, doubling the legal workforce in our country. Looking ahead, I'm inspired by the Attorney General's vision for a law house in each region, creating dedicated spaces for public legal services across Ghana. This vision of a strong, united legal framework is the legacy we aim to build. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the bar, as public sector lawyers, the path we walk is one that demands courage, commitment, integrity, and a ceaseless pursuit of excellence. This conference is a testimony to the value we place on your contributions and the recognition that without a strong legal backbone, our public service cannot function at its highest potential. Government is committed to supporting your development, ensuring that our legal teams are well prepared to face the challenges of our time.
The Education Minister, Dr. Yaosei Duchum, has announced plans to make senior high schools education compulsory under the Free Senior High School Bill introduced in Parliament. Now, if passed, the bill would require all eligible students to complete senior high school, marking a significant step towards universal access to secondary education. And speaking at the National Tertiary Education Conference held at the University of Ghana, Dr. Yaosei Duchum noted the move is to boost enrollment and bridge educational gaps across the country.
If you look at junior high school transition rate in Ghana today, last year, the just ended academic year, 95% of students in the northern region move on to junior high school to high school. 94% of students in the northeast and Savannah moved on from junior high school to high school. 92% of students in Upper East moved on from junior high school to high school. Upper West, 89%. That is the lowest in the north. 89% of the students who were eligible and who had been offered spaces moved on from junior high school to high school. But the lowest in the north is higher than the rate of any of the regions in the south. There's a growing trend here where there's a widening gap between the north and the south in terms of participation in secondary education. The north, all the regions together, are ahead of the whole country. Voter rating is the lowest, 76%. So nearly 20% difference between the north and voter rating. If this trend continues, the next 20 years you have to do an affirmative action to support the south. Central rating is about 78%. Ashanti and Accra, Greater Accra, 87%. But when you dive deep to the districts within Ashanti, you're going to realize that places like Adansia, Sokwa will give you about 65%. 65% means there's a 30% disparity between the north and that particular district in terms of moving up into secondary education space. So if you heard about the bill in Parliament about the free secondary education bill. The goal is to ensure that we create a free, compulsory, universal secondary education regime in Ghana. It's a very important aspect of the bill. That it will not be something that children who are not 18 have a choice in, saying that I'm not going to secondary school and I'm going to stay at home.
Some basic school pupils in the Central Region have received desks from the Central Regional Coordinating Council as part of efforts to improve the quality of learning. The initiative, according to the regional minister, aims to address the shortage of furniture in schools across various metropolitan, municipal and districts in the region. Now, Central Regional correspondent Erica Sante tells us more in this report.
Move aimed at improving educational facilities across the Central Region. The Central Regional Coordinating Council has handed over the first consignment of school desks to several metropolitan, municipal and districts in the region. The presentation ceremony held at the Cape Coast Technical Institute witnessed the distribution of 4,333 desks to help alleviate the shortage of classroom furniture in the various schools across the region. Speaking at the event, the acting director of the Central Regional Coordinating Council, Blessed Kwame Dake, who presented the furniture on behalf of the regional minister, underscored the importance of investing in education and expressed government's commitment to creating a conducive learning environment for the students.
As part of improving the quality and access of education, it behoves of government to provide the necessary amenities and facilities for our children to enhance their education, enhance their studies, okay? And so this is just timely that the government of Ghana, through GET Fund, will provide this number of facilities for those in KG, kindergarten to upper primary and then to the GHS, just to provide them an enabling environment to study. Government's responsibility is to provide or construct schools. So when schools are constructed, it is also the responsibility of government to provide the necessary amenities like the school desks, library facilities, the drawing boards, etc., so that there will be holistic education for our children. So it's a good foundation that government is building for our children, for the betterment of our country. But I'm talking about 9 municipal and district assemblies are benefiting from this currently. In total, we have 4,333 desks of different categories. So this is just the first phase of facilities that have come for the Central Regional Coordinating Council to distribute to the assemblies for onward distribution to their schools. We are expecting the second installment to come for us to do that.
The desk, designed to provide comfort and durability, are expected to significantly improve the quality of learning for the pupils. Receiving the desk on behalf of the MMDEs, Honorable Ransford Kwesi Nyako expressed profound gratitude to the Central Regional Coordinating Council for their support. He pledged to ensure that the furniture would properly be maintained.
For us, this depicts His Excellency's commitment to education. I also want to thank the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. We know that indeed he is the brain behind most of these initiatives to ensure that our people have the best in terms of education. And we believe that as MMDCs, we will ensure that the beneficial schools will have the best in terms of maintenance so that these furniture will be there for use for future generations.
Now, let's take you back to the United States of America, where we're monitoring the election. CNN projections show that Republicans have won control of the Senate. Donald Trump has won 2 key battleground states, that is Georgia and North Carolina, as Kamala Harris takes New Mexico. It's too early to call the other battleground states, that is Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada, seen as pivotal to each candidate's path to victory. Trump and Harris each need at least 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. And we'll tell you more. We'll bring you more details later on in the show after our news review and sports segment. That is our big story. So you want to keep watching. And on that note, let's get into our business update now, coming up shortly.
automobile sectors are currently driving dollar demands. That's according to market reports of some commercial banks. We'll bring you details in this report.
The report showed that the demand is coming from firms that are important to support the operations as well as fuel for power generation, whilst in the automobile space, dealers are bringing in parts for their business as well as those that are trying to get new models for their customers. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has also been increasing the amount of dollars that it supplies to the market as well as clear the backlog of demand. The central bank, through its 7-day auction on Monday, sold about $50 million to the market. However, only $41 million was taken up by the commercial banks. These dollars were sold at a rate between 16 cedis, 30 pesos, and 16 cedis, 37 pesos. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Nes Addison, recently assured businesses that there is no need for them to panic in terms of current pressure on the cedi. The governor maintained that it has the required support to stabilize the local currency.
In our second story, energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana has challenged government to develop the political will and effectively implement the cash waterfall mechanism to address the challenges facing the country's energy sector. His comments follow pressure mounted on government by the country's donor partners to strictly enforce the sharing of revenue collected by the Electricity Company of Ghana to other sector players. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Sulemana maintained the efficient implementation of the cash waterfall mechanism would solve the woes of the sector.
Willpower, the political will. So that's why now they want to use that as a bargaining chip to whip us online. And actually to our best interest. Because see, if let's say an X amount of money is taken, and the money is such that if you take money for a purpose and then you don't use it for that purpose, it will find issues, especially in government coffers. So I think it's in our best interest to let the cash waterfall mechanism work and work efficiently. And if it works, what will happen is that we all know the issues with the ECG with respect to revenue generation, so or mobilization. So if an X amount of revenue is mobilized, however little it is, if the players within the chain are not assured that this is the amount they are getting continuously, I think there's a cost to be worried. And the important thing is that it's about cash flow. It's not about meeting the requirement of the IPPs. That's not the case. It's just to guarantee that we will have an X amount of money coming in, especially if you collect this amount from ECG, this amount that is supposed to come to you will come to you. It's as easy as that, and we need to do that. And I think if we do that, it's going to help a nation a whole lot. And it can also help in solving doomsday issues, actually, because some of these IPPs, because they know that some X amount of money has been collected from ECG, and they know they're required to take this amount, and it's not coming to them. That is why sometimes you see them agitating and potentially taking our power from our grid. That affects the poor consumer.
And to cap off business, we bring you our currency market. Thank you for letting me serve you. It's a wrap for business. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
Thanks, Ben. And that's how we're wrapping up for the AM News on the AM Show. Let's get ready for our news review segments. Dr. Kwame Asasante joins us to review the newspapers. We're back in a bit. Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show, the Ben and Sweetie show. How are you feeling this morning, Benjamin?
Well, very well. Had little sleep, but energized to come and do what we do best. And yeah,
that makes
get
one
it
of
rolling.
You.
That makes one of me, eh?
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into our newspapers. Shortly, we'll introduce our guest to you, but we want to start off by just taking you through the newspapers, the headlines and all that, before we get, like Ben would like to say, surgical with it. But Benjamin, I know you've been following the U.S. elections. Mm-hmm. It appears our choice of a candidate, if we were voting in the U.S., isn't doing so well. I know it's too soon to call, but...
Well, it's not too soon at this point.
Now,
there's Trump has over 260, I think.
Kamala is still around the 180s.
Around 267, if you are staying with some of the figures that are being put out. If you look at the Associated Press, usually one of the most reliable when it comes to this, they would give you Harris 214, Trump 247, but some project as high as 267 already if they're adding Pennsylvania and other places. But for me, it just, I'll just highlight something I shared a short while ago, people talking about fake news, propaganda and the rest. And I just said that Americans have chosen their chalice, right? Americans have chosen their chalice and they will have to drink of it to the dregs. So cheers to them.
Well, it would be really sad.
You remember that saying, as you make your bed, so you'll have to lie on it. That's it. The only thing is, when Nanaya Mreku was here yesterday, he made a point, and it is true to a great extent, not as much as it used to be when you had a unipolar or unipower world. Now, there are many entities rearing their heads. You can still say the U.S. is the primus inter pares in terms of superpowers, still, okay? But it's being chipped away at by other countries like China, like the BRICS countries, and others. So it's more of a duopoly, and eventually it may, get eroded a bit. The point there is that still, if the U.S. catches a cold or sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. And so what happens there is relevant to countries like Ghana as well, trade, diplomacy, and all of that. But for me, like I'm saying, Americans have made their choice, they have chosen their chalice, and they'll have to drink of it to the dregs. So that's it. Let's bring in Dr. Kwame Asante. He's a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, good morning.
Hey, Ben. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Doc. And of course, your very own Sweetie Abochi is here.
Is Sweetie around?
Yes, please. She is.
Yes,
I'm here, Doc. Good morning.
Yes, good to see you.
Yes,
good morning.
Doc, let's go straight into your trail of thoughts. What's on your mind? What would you share with us this morning?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'll use the U.S. elections. All right. People will be wondering, why is it that U.S. are going through the polls to elect their leaders, and we get excited about it. We are following keenly the whole process and the rest of them. It is important to note that U.S. is a big player in terms of world politics, and that whatever happens in the U.S. obviously affects every part of the world. So we must show interest in whatever happens in the U.S. in terms of their electoral outcomes, and then begin to position ourselves towards what each of the leaders have said. Because when they are done with the elections and they begin to roll out their policies, obviously it's going to affect us in terms of trade, in terms of foreign policy, in terms of human rights, in terms of everything. So we must show interest. But it is my hope and prayer that Americans will come out and give us the leader that they think is the best, and then that leader will also follow through their policies and programs that we in other parts of the world will, have at least some bites of the things that they give to us so that we move on. But that aside, the good things that we are picking from the election, we should be able to learn from them and then inculcate that in our elections here. The way the campaign has been run, even though at a point in time so hot and all that, but we can say that, look, they've conducted themselves well. Exactly the same thing we want here. Issue of violence should be taken away from our elections here, where we have seen 2 or 3 incidents that we don't want a repeat of that. The one in Hawa Humson's constituency, the one in Nima, and the rest of them. Let us rise up and then deal with all manner of violence so that the last election where 8 people were shot dead and up to date nobody has talked about it, will not have a repeat of that. We wish the US the best, and we believe that the best candidate will win. And then whatever policy they have, we will also be able to follow through. And then obviously we'll get some fair share from what is happening here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc. I mean, I listened to many analysts who describe this election as unpredictable. And so we all wait to see the outcome of this electoral college. Let me get straight into the newspapers. I'll start with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, AG targets new offices in regions. And we can see a picture of the president and Godfrey Yeboah-Dame there in short. Akomadan chief endorses Bawumia. Here we go again. Roman father replaces Ikuadonko. That's, so much confusion at the GFP. Return to negotiation table. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission tells CLOSAG. And MIIF leads mineral resource management. I want to start with the story about the confusion that has rocked the camp of the late Ikuadonko about who is replacing her or whether or not the party is withdrawing from the elections completely. And that story is on page 6 of the Daily Guide newspaper. Yeah. So Roman father replaces Ikuadonko. Now, following the death of founder and presidential candidate of the Ghana Freedom Party, that is the GFP, Ikuadonko, the party's leadership has officially nominated Philip Kwabena Agyeman-Appiah-Kubi, also known as Roman father, as the party's new presidential candidate. A letter signed and issued by the General Secretary of the party, George Afful, on Monday, November 4th, disclosed that the party has duly nominated its running mate, Philip Kwabena Agyeman-Appiah-Kubi, to replace the presidential candidate. It, however, is unclear to the public when another letter resurfaced later on Tuesday, announcing the withdrawal of the party to contest the December elections. GFP, put your house in order. We don't need this at this time. Be circumspect in security reporting, according to the police. So, Director of Operations at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Abbas, has cautioned media houses to refrain from sensationalizing security issues that can potentially cause panic and tension in the country. Now, according to him, the Ghana Police Service has been overwhelmed by misinformation about news items circulating in the media without clarification from its officials. And we here at Joy News, we say check, double check, make sure your facts are right before you put anything out or share, retweet, whatever it is that you're putting out information. Be sure that you're putting out the right one. Let me just run through the rest of the stories here. NCD Alliance celebrates World Stroke Day. Napo slams NDC Azoka Boys project. Cybersecurity further for Eslo Wusu Ekufo. Government absorbs Daboya School. Land reclamation book launched. All set for Western Gospel Awards. And on the back page, Otuado set to name squad for Angola-Niger clash. Semenyo seeks God. Balotelli booked within 5 minutes on Serie A return. And Benzema advises Mbappe to adapt. Doc, your quick reflections on these stories.
I'll start with Akomadan chief endorses Bawumia. It is unfortunate because this flies in the face of the Supreme Court ruling, which says that, yes, chiefs are part of the political system, but they cannot engage in partisan political activity. What the best that they can do is to endorse policies of what, leaders, but not to what, endorse candidates. So this is one of the aberrations. We have said it time and again. But what we need to do as a state is that, yes, the Supreme Court has come out with a beautiful ruling on that, but we have to let it work by looking at the law again and then amend it and then prescribe sanction. We need a sanction regime to deal with people who cross the line in this regard. That is the only way out. Otherwise, the ruling, yes, will be there, but we'll continue to have such aberrations. That is unfortunate. But we have to use this platform to tell Nananum, not all of them, those who engage in that, it doesn't bode well for our democracy. And then they also, the position that they occupy, we see them as neutrals. So we want them to shy away from things like this, and then we'll continue to have them as the epitome of tradition, and then they should be the people that anytime we are in difficulty, we will run to. I'll look at the security reporting.
Yes.
And I support the call by the senior police officer. All right. These things are very important information that we need, and we need such promptings from time to time. Ghana is surrounded by countries which are virtually in flames. We are in turbulent region. So anything that will undermine security, we have to be careful and then go by the rules of the game. So I support the police officer, and then we want to work and work hard so that we maintain the peace that we have. It is very expensive, and that we will not be in a position to undermine it. So let us, all of us, learn from this, and then we do the needful. And then you also talk about the issue of Ghana Freedom Party.
Yeah.
Right. Yesterday, I listened with rapt attention the confusion that is brewing within that political party. And I realized that something is wrong there. At one point in time, the gentleman was making reference to the fact that the late Ekweadonkor asked them to do A, B, C, and all that. And the host, Kojo Brace, was asking whether you consulted very well. Is it a case that you also made reference to your constitution? What does your constitution say about what is happening? I mean, the guy was struggling to get answers. It tells you that institutions, virtually from where I said, do not exist in Ghana Freedom Party. Because if you have institutions, these things are clearly defined, and you are able to know where you proceed, because they are the rules of the game. How do you take a decision and you don't consult, and then you don't go by the dictates of the Constitution, but you rely on word of mouth from the late leader? I think political parties such as what Ekweadonkor Ghana Freedom Party should be able to learn the ropes and learn them well if they really want to be important within the sphere of politics in our country.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc, for that insightful review of the stories. Benjamin, let's do your paper now.
Well, the Daily Searchlight is where I'm starting from. Bagbin erred by declaring seats vacant. Ifadate says so. That's Captain Retired Ifadate. There's also 2024 election. Imani shreds NDC and MPP manifestos as vague. Then there's another one, Dr. Hassan Asante. God will favor you for your good work. Na Nyankpalana blesses Alan K. And Wisconsin University wins Cybersecurity Authority's Industry Partnership Award. Friday, 8th November 2024 is not a public holiday. Well, let's get into some of the stories from here. I'll start with the one on page 2. So, Captain Retired Nkrabea Ifadate, a veteran legal practitioner and a former member of Parliament, says the Speaker of Parliament, Albert Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, erred when he declared the 3 parliamentary seats of the MPP in the House vacant. Quoting him, he says, it was constitutionally wrong for the Speaker to declare the seats vacant. He stated, explaining that the 1992 Constitution makes it clear that only political parties have that sole prerogative to declare an MP seat vacant after the MP withdraws his or her membership from the party. That's his stance. But I've always asked, if the law were that it would kick in a future time, when there would be a time lapse, when the effect of whatever the law sought to achieve would be nullified or would be moot, what then would the law, signify? What would it mean? What would it stand for? Maybe those on the other side would have to determine. But the other day, I was taking a look at a post by Professor Kwaku Azan from this must have been, was it 2020? Thereabouts, when Speaker Michael Quay delivered his ruling on the Fomena MP and all of that. And bigwigs of the NPP, including Kor Esuman, and their reactions. And today, the way some of them react, it makes for interesting reading. It tells you that there are different interests at play, and depending on where the shoe is and who is feeling the pinch, the reactions would be different. I have that post. I'll check it out shortly and read out to you what Kor Esuman said back then. But 2024 election, Imani shreds NDC and NPP manifestos as vague. Now, Imani Africa, a policy think tank, has criticized the current manifestos of three leading political parties for the 2024 election, stating that they do not offer tangible solutions to the economic challenges facing the country. The think tank described most of the promises in the manifestos as, quote, non-quantifiable, vague, lacking clarity, feasibility, and failing to provide timelines for implementation. The analysis was conducted by Imani Africa into the contents of the manifestos of the NPP and the NDC and the Movement for Change, of course. They have their great transformational plan, and they have their plan, like I said, as well. CD moves closer to 17 Ghana cedis on retail market, sells at 16.77 to $1. I was speaking to someone a few days ago who told me that, well, it's more like 21. I told him how. And he said to me, well, if you add taxes, bank charges, the transactional charges on the dollar and you're transacting, then you're looking at 21. I said, okay, but for us, we know it's 16 point something, not, 21 as yet. I don't know what your thoughts are on these matters. I'm still looking for the post, and then I'll read to you what Kor Esuman said back then, which then, reflects on political actors and how they flip-flop depending on what is affecting them or not affecting them. Doc.
I'll begin with Ifadate Ngrabia, what he said about the Speaker's ruling. Yes. It's unfortunate because he, as a lawyer, he knows that the case is before court. So for him to go into it, I'm just surprised. I have reserved all my comments if you have watched me, because the case is before court. I have a lot of interesting ideas that when the court is able to do its work, I will also come out and then share my thoughts. So I will leave that one, right? But on
the point of political actors, honesty, they say, is the best policy. And yes, you could err, but if you do, then you might as well admit that maybe my thinking then was not right. Just as some have said that, Speaker Quay's ruling then may have been technically faulty, which is why they now say the reverse should be the case. Kor Esuman back then said, on the back of, Professor Kwaku Azan actually saying that, no, it shouldn't apply in the way that the Fomena MP had been treated by Professor Michael Quay. This was Kor Esuman then. He said, by filing as an independent candidate, the MP automatically loses his membership of the party. Having lost his membership, he is no longer an NPP member in the current parliament. He becomes independent. Reading the party's constitution and the constitution together should answer your questions. He's a lawyer, okay? And this was his reasoning on the matter back then. The constitutions of both the NPP and the NDC state that, if you perform certain actions, you lose your membership of the party. It hasn't changed. So what has changed now? It's the political flip-flopping for me, back then versus now. Yeah, but
we will come back to that, but to look at that. But there is something that I want to tie to this, that there are a number of gray areas in our constitution that we need to quickly get around the table and deal with them. One is this issue we are talking about, which I am hopeful the Supreme Court will rule on that. But beyond this, the issue of that 30 days rule to the election when the seat becomes vacant and all that. Nobody is trying to look at this. It is an important thing. Today, even some people are not declared vacant and all that, and somebody resigns. From now up to election, you can't field any candidate. The person will, the constituents will not have what? A representation. You remember how last week the Chief Justice was talking about the fact that this action by the Speaker would deny, people representation, and that's why they are quickly working on that and the rest of them. You look at it vis-a-vis what I'm talking about, you realize that there is something we have to do about that provision so that we are clear that, yes, when it happens this way, what we do. Because, yes, if you resign today, the people are not going to have a representation. Have we thought about that? We as a society, we need to look at this. The issue of manifesto and the work of Imani, I salute them. I salute them. And I'll add CDD also to it. Last week on your network, the CDD gentleman, Dr. I think Esiedi also, right? He challenged the two dominant political parties, MPP, NDC, that come out with how much you have put down in terms of cost relative to your promises within the area of health. And nobody could give an answer. And it was very interesting to listen to them and said, wow, so on what basis were you promising the people issues about health? We are going to do this. And I said, tell us in monetary terms how much you have earmarked for this and all that. And I will move the conversation forward. How are you going to get money to fund all that you are saying in that area? If you tie that one to what Imani is doing, brilliant work. Mostly all that they are doing is just to what? Give us what? A whole, catalog of promises, and that they have not sat down to work the mathematics. So at the end of the day, they will come to office and then scratch on the face of the problem, and then more often than not, they will leave most of the promises unfulfilled. And that, for me, is critical when we're looking at governance of this country and what people deserve. It comes to tell us that at the end of the day, our leaders would deceive us and promise us high heavens, but only come to office to do something different. This is not good enough. And I commend the two think tanks, the work they've started, that others must follow so that we can hold these people accountable for their actions and inactions. And then the last one I want to look at is the CD depreciation. I have started seeing adverts flying across the social media, what this party, for instance, the MPP has done in area of improving the economy, for which reason they are asking for the people of this country to retain them and the rest of them. There is no problem about that. But the CD keep on depreciating. And what is their answer? All right? Because the ordinary man in this election is just going there with a simple message. Look at your economic condition and you vote according to that. That the message that did the magic in 2000 for President Kufuor is visually going to resonate in this election, because we all go to the same market. We've seen what economic condition there. Nobody is going to convince us with any data from anywhere.
Right.
What was the price of kinky in 2020 and what is it today and all that? And this is going to be what? The changing circumstances, or this is going to change the fortunes of political parties in this election. We are going to look at that and then vote, and vote what? Wisely. Of course, in addition to what? Setting what issues that also once a while they come up, like issue of what? What do you call galamsey? It's going to be like doom saw. People are going to look at that and decide. Gradually, we are moving closer to areas such as America, where one issue can really cause a stir in the political choices of voters. We are getting there.
Right, and is Man City in trouble after that thrashing at the hands of Sporting Lisbon? Questions are being asked, but you can trust Pep Guardiola to bounce back. Never count him out. I can end careers and I could end yours. Shatawale warns Black Sheriff. I don't know, but I've been hearing. Sometimes I struggle to, comprehend Shatawale. I like some of his music, but some of his utterances, I don't know. Recently, he was saying that Stonebwoy had, fame and money had got to his head. And I thought of Shatta himself and wondered, on the same front. But the recent beef, I think he was on a podcast and said that, Black Sheriff doesn't know how to dress well and all of that. And now he says, I can end careers and I could end yours. You see, this is my problem with GH artists. The Nigerians are doing big things. The South Africans, what's her name? The girl who sang Water. Tyler, They are collaborating, doing big things. Here, we are fighting. Instead of finding a rhythm, we've lost our rhythm because high life was our thing.
No, we haven't lost
No, high life was our thing.
Life is still very much here. Have you listened
which
to
high life songs? Which high life songs? Name 5 artists who have delivered high life songs this year. 5 artists.
I'm naming
artists.
them. King Paluta's one. Wachame Kwame's one.
Which one?
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind right now. But I know he's still very actively producing music.
Our high life is I don't want to say almost dead.
We're doing it.
But the point I'm making is that high life was something that we could hold and say, we did it. And the Nigerians picked it up and all of that. Now where it has shifted to, what is Ghana music? What do we own in terms of music?
Jumping onto the Afrobeat.
And instead of collaborating and coming together and doing stuff, it's about I can end careers and I could end yours.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
Shatawale for you.
I don't know whether you want to say anything. If not, we move on.
I want to say something. Yeah, because I'm a fan of music. My family is full of musicians. So,
I see.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you look at some of these things, it's very unfortunate because, as you rightly said, high life has been our thing. So one would have expected that if for nothing at all, we maintain the quality and maintain the music at all times. And I will continue to salute those who are alive and dead for the work they've done in the area of highlight. Papa Youngson, A.B. Crensel, Jewel Aka, and the rest of them. Great musician. You have people like Amachi Dede Abrante, my own family member, Jodako, and all that. They've done so well. So one would have expected that people would take it from where they are living off. And that's it. Ben Bracon, name them. They've done so well. So what are we talking about here? But sometimes I look at them, I follow them on social media. As a journalist, I follow them, listen to the human interest side of their stories and all that. But I realize that one of the youthful exuberances, so I forgive them. But it's about time that they sat down and reflect on these things and do great stuff. Because somebody like Shatawale, great musician, I've listened to him a lot. His lyrics, arrangement, and all that, great musician. So I believe that he will inspire the other young ones and then they do stuff. They should be thinking of what, going to, look at the work he did with Beyonce and all that. Great one. I want him to move on and do stuff so that others will follow. But the great high life musician, I continue to salute them. And if you follow Professor John Collins, all right, sometimes they organize certain programs at School of Performing Arts and Eugene. Come and listen to John Collins and all that on guitar. You will love it. Yeah. And I always, in my free times, I go and listen. Sometimes in their dance sessions, I also go and perform as a dancer. I'm very good at that. So we want that industry too. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
one of these days, invite me. I'll just come and watch you.
Oh, yes. Dr. Baby Kwe has been inviting me, meeting his students, and then teaching them how to dance Phantom From. I go there and shake my body and then perform there. Wow. Yes. I do that, yes.
All this talk about high life just brings to mind some of Daddy Lumba's song. And, you know, there was a time in my life that I was really consuming a lot of Daddy Lumba. And you can tell that it's just serious ekutia. Papa,
but he's a great musician.
But if you follow,
serious ekutia, this high life musicians.
But you will love Daddy Lumba.
Yeah, you love them.
He's one of the greatest, one of the greatest.
Yeah.
Yes. I salute him.
But you can't take out the nature from that you know, equation. If you want to talk about the Lumba brothers and the beef.
Oh yes,
a brother,
Daddy Lumba.
Anyway,
and we can't forget Kwadwo. Look at how Kwadwo has taken our music. Look, not to bother you, but I went to Geneva. I was a student there, and then I met Burkina Faso students. And then they were telling me, who is this man Kwadwo? We love his music so much. And I asked them, do you understand the lyrics? They said, we don't care who's about the lyrics. We just listen to the, you know, the beats, and we are very much happy. Burkina Faso students in Graduate Institute in Geneva, they were so much in love with Kwadwo. Yes, this is what we want our musicians to do. They should stop the youth fights and then do stuff.
Anyway, I think this song is just going to be ringing in my head all day. Let me do the Ghanaian.
Which one is that?
Papa cry, matuna chinye. Na maya kuntai, I will say.
Daddy Lumba, that. Yes.
Oh, I love that man. Yeah. So Tampuli predicts one-touch victory for Bawumia. Dr. Nick Danso makes it 3 entrepreneur wins in a row. Friday, 8th November, not a holiday, says the Interior Minister. Wisconsin University grabs cybersecurity awards, and I'll just rush through the headlines in here. More youth to enjoy digital skills training, according to Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. I was born into NPP, doesn't bring development, as Edwin Ketia says. Tampuli predicts one-touch victory for Bawumia, and 34,000 new cases of HIV detected in 9 months. I do want to get into this briefly. The National HIV and AIDS Control Program of the Ghana Health Service has reported over 34,000 new HIV infections detected from January to the 3rd quarter of 2024. That's a big number. Now, Dr. Stephen Aisiado, the program manager, emphasized the importance of public testing and screening, revealing that approximately 1.3 million people were screened during this period. Quotes, between January and the 3rd quarter alone, the number of people we identified as positives through our testing activities was 34,000 people. Please protect yourselves out there. HIV is real. Pathway to Ghana's oil sector. Dr. Nick Danso makes it 3 entrepreneur wins in a row. And of course, the Interior Minister says Friday, 8th November is not a public holiday, but 6th December, would be celebrated as a statutory holiday. Attorney General calls for reform in arbitration and public sector law. Labadi Beach Hotel pays 16.5 million Ghana cedis dividend to SNIT. Let me get into this briefly. That's the last thing I'll do.
But that story has been in the for quite a while. I'm wondering.
Labadi Beach Hotel, a flagship name in Ghana's hospitality industry, and this is the Ghanaian publisher, has presented a dividend of 16.5 million Ghana cedis to its shareholder, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. The dividend announced during the hotel's annual general meeting reflects the hotel's dedication to maintaining steady returns while bolstering its leadership status in the industry. And that will be it for me. If you have some reflections, Doc, your take now.
And that will be the beginning for me. That's 16.5 million.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because few months ago, Labadi, the owners of the operators of the facility there, management, I'm talking about management, decided to sell this thing off because they were not making profit and all that. What are we saying here? All right. We should not be quick to sell state property. If there's a problem, let's look at them and then handle them the way they ought to be handled. This thing has vindicated a number of people who were saying that, look, we can't go on that route. And I on this call, I want to salute organized labor and then the people of this country. They stood up and said, no, it will not happen on our watch. That is how we protect state property. That is how we ensure that those who hold political power, we hold them to what? The rules of accountability. It is very, very important. Issue of HIV cases rising up is a worrying situation. But I support the commission. They are doing a great job by giving all manner of education and advert and all that. We need to be careful so that we save our society and then we save our people.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Ben, any last paper from you before we go?
Well, I have the custodian. It talks about Al-Hassan Tampuli predicting one-touch victory for MPP, which you've mentioned already. I like the way our projections are going. Each side is saying we're carrying the day. When the day comes, then we'll see the chips falling in their proper places, and we'll see who will start keeping quiet and who will keep on talking. MIIF changes narrative on Ghana's mineral resources, protect judiciary from illegal pressures, AG to GBA. Razak Kojo-Poku answers Mohammed's 5 questions. Find some of these funny. Labadi Beach Hotel pays 16.5 million Ghana cedis, CD dividend to SNID. And the news center, Moba Ebusiapenyin, donates 111,100 Ghana cedis to NSMQ winning team. And then GIF and Achak begin 3-day protest against shipping lines. And there's also 170,830 health workers recruited between 2017 and 2023, but backlog remains. Those are the stories. That's it for me.
Okay.
Doc, any final reactions before we go?
Yeah, I'll look at Al-Hassan Tampoli and his prediction. Normal, we can grant him that because, of course, he cannot say that they are going to lose. That would be a different story. But what is the reality? The reality is that Ghanaians would decide based on the health of the economy. Ghanaians would decide based on issue of unemployment. Ghanaians would decide based on doomsok, which I don't know whether we are in or it is just local problems we are experiencing, right? Ghanaians would decide based on what? Galamsey, and then certain constituency-specific problems. These are going to be the canons that we are going to gauge the conduct of whoever we want to give our mandate to. But that I want to tie something to it, is the issue of what bogus polls that we are seeing, serving as propaganda, deceiving people into believing that one party is winning and all that. There is no doubt that some of the political parties have gone to the field, collected data, and then they are doing stuff. Great one. There are people who have not gone, but they have data that they are manipulating using what? Models of statistics and the rest of them. Beautiful. That's what we see in the US and all that. Beyond that, we are seeing those who are predicted because God has spoken to them and all that. Those are not scientific. We cannot follow. Because science is nothing. Scientific truths are universal and can be verifiable. They are verifiable. You can verify them. So for me, I will urge the public to shy away from bogus polls. But how would they see the cocoa seller? How will he know that what is happening is not the right thing and all that? We should continue to educate them and prevent them from being taken away by some of the utterances of people who come out with bogus polls. They do not only undermine our democracy, but they also affect the quality. And it also deceives the people into believing that something is right, something is wrong. In a democracy, people need information, but nothing but what? Accurate information. Information that will bring changes in their life. Information that will improve their lot, and information that will stand the test of time. And I also look at Kojo Poku's response to Mohammed's questions. Yes, he has said his bit. But what I have is that it's not about the issue of Mohammed's 5 questions and Dr. Bawumia's 50 questions. It's the issue about the reality of the time. What is inflation levels today? What is the health of the economy? What is the rate of unemployment? Why are people still mining? And even though government has assured us that there is a renewed fight, is there any renewed fight against Galamsey? What is the effect of Galamsey on cocoa, which is the mainstay of this country? The effect of Galamsey on cereals, the effect of Galamsey on food crops and arable lands for agriculture and all that. These are threats that political parties must address and must address head on. Any other thing would throw them into the lake of fire. But they should remember that on December 7th, we are going to vote and vote effectively.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. Benjamin?
Thank you.
Well, that's how we're going to cap it off. Thank you for joining the conversation. That is Dr. Kwame Asante. He's a political scientist. He's also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. This has been the News Review with Sweetie Abochi and yours truly, Bibija Joanna. And I
Papa Kra Matuna Chini Maya Puntai.
Agrobedici. We serve you sports shortly. Do stay.
Time now to bring you sports here on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. BetPawa, despite withdrawing their sponsorship from the Ghana Premier League, it says it is still willing to invest some money into the country's domestic competitions. In a partnership agreed with the Ghana Football Association, BetPawa says it will be investing about $7 million into the Ghana Premier League, the Women's League, as well as the Division 1 competitions.
The amounts will be invested through the locker room bonus, a support package originally instituted to reward players in the Ghana Premier League, but now extended to cover the Women's FA Cup. For the current season, the bonus will be expanded to cover 3 members of the coaching and support staff. Clubs have the discretion to choose which members are to receive the bonus. Here is Ntuode Moyelo, who is also the Chief Operating Officer at BetPawa.
It was very exciting today to announce to the media community of Ghana that we have reached a partnership to extend what we have done with GFA by, again, supporting the Premier League with this initiative called the Locker Room Bonus, and actually extending the same to women with the Women FA Cup, starting with the stage of the 16. We will be giving to all women in the squad list of the winning team 400 cedis, which is the same amount that we will be giving as well to the men that will be winning a game in the Premier League during the 2024-2025 season. We have seen how men have been benefiting from this sponsorship. And we did appreciate the call from the president of GFA and his team to do the same for women. We see the rise of women football on the continent. I mean, you have seen African team being qualified for the World Cup. And I do believe that today, actually, the gap between the women teams and in the continent and the teams outside Africa is not as big as the gap that you can see for the men. So we wanted to make sure that the winning women are also benefiting from the same.
Meanwhile, BetPawa have also announced plans to resume construction of Phase 2 of the BetPawa Park at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence. However, the company does not intend to involve the Ghana Football Association in this phase of the project.
Because we have changed the contract into a local room bonus contract, we have decided, as I said before, to continue the work on the stadium, but this is not anymore under contract with GFA. So this is a pure CSR initiative between us and the contractors of the stadium. I like to say that I do promises and I keep them. So whatever we have done or signed before, I can tell you for sure, there is no outstanding payment from BetPawa to anyone in Ghana in terms of the sponsorship.
Despite what appears to be a cutting of ties with the GFA, Moyelo says the company could still return to sponsor the Ghana Premier League.
Why did we why have we decided not to stay the title sponsor? Just look at the bigger picture. Bet Power as a brand decided to invest in the locker room bonus across the continent. It is the same that will apply everywhere. So we cannot say that Ghana has been sanctioned. You can only see that Ghana is now in line with any other markets to receive the local room bonus, and Ghana is the first market to receive.
Let's talk athletics now, and the Ghana Armed Forces is preparing to participate in the Africa Military Games that will be taking place in Abuja later this month. They participated in Ghana Athletics Open Championship for Security Services, which took place at the University of Ghana Stadium. Richard Akoto, who is the Director of Training and PT at the Ghana Armed Forces, says that the training serves as an opportunity for them to get their athletes ready for the continental event. Services such as the Ghana Armed Forces, Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana Prison Service, Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division, and the Ghana National Fire Service participated in the two-day event. The men competed in 15 events, while the women took part in 12 events. Ghana Armed Forces, preparing for the Africa Military Games in Abuja later this month, dominated the competition, scoring 327 points in the men's events, while the women scored 198 points. Colonel Richard Akoto, Director of Training and PTA of the Ghana Armed Forces, expressed his gratitude to the Ghana Athletics for giving them the platform to be able to prepare for the event.
It is not the sister games, it's the Ghana Athletics Association's Open Championship for Security Services, with the hope that with this, the sister games will come back. But it's exciting. You know, athletics is a very difficult sport. And when we are presented with these opportunities, we are very happy. And so far, we want to thank the Ghana Athletics Association for the collaboration, and also thank the University of Ghana for giving out their facility for use. Well, for the armed forces, the ultimate goal is to get a very vibrant team that will represent Ghana Armed Forces in the coming African Military Games in Abuja from 18th to 30th of this month. We hope that by the time we finish, we'll have had our team set and we'll be ready to compete for Ghana Armed Forces. We want them to do well, and that is why we are very happy that these opportunities have been presented us. It is work in progress. At least this will be a major international competition, because the last time they held this was in the 70s. And for all African militaries coming together, we think it is a platform that our boys can showcase their talents and also make us proud.
President of Ghana Athletics, Ba Fusene, believes the athletics governing body is gradually covering every facet of the Ghanaian community to have them embrace athletics.
The ultimate goal is to harness the sports potential in the security services, also to create more friendship among the security services, and to give them the opportunity to be part of the national team, even though some of them are, but not all of them, and above all, to rekindle the spirit of the sister championship. I was an athlete. I participated in the sister game. I love it. I enjoy it. So once I have the opportunity to try to revive it, why not? So the end game of this championship is to rekindle the spirit of the sister game among the security services, so that we'll have a full-blown security services games, including this championship, in the near future.
He also expressed his gratitude to the security services for participating in the first Ghana Athletics Open Championship for Security Services.
They have honored our invitation graciously, and we are so thankful to the Ghana Armed Forces, Ghana Prison Service, Ghana Immigration Service, Customs, for them participating in this event. It's a first step, but it's a very giant step that we have taken. Now we've effectively covered every aspect of Ghanaian sporting fraternity. We have the university games, we have the schools championship, we have the individual championship. We are going to have private school championship this month, and now we are having the security services championship. It means we are covering everybody. We are not leaving any stone unturned. in our quest to build a formidable national team, give everybody the opportunity to be part of the Ghana Athletics family. So it's a huge step that we've taken today. I'm just hoping and praying next time it will be bigger, more competitive, and all the services, including police service, will be among the participants.
The military games will take place in Abuja from November 18 to November 30.
Leader. Who is winning? Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
You're still watching the AM show right here on Joy News, but as the results from the Electoral College in the United States of America elections are pouring in, Donald Trump is addressing the public at a rally at his campaign headquarters in Florida. Let's take you there right now to take a listen.
We have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie, Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, say something.
This wasn't expected, but I just want to thank, obviously, President Trump for this journey. It was a great one, and he's a hell of a candidate, and he's going to be a hell of a great 47th president. And this team that we had, the best team, and, of course, even my boss, Susie Wild, the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Look at this. She's shot. I've never seen her be shot before. Susie. They're great. Everybody up here is great. Everybody up is very, very special. But the Trump, who did you say? Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. Now he is an amazing guy. We were sitting together tonight, and he spent 2 weeks in Philadelphia and different parts of Pennsylvania campaigning. Amazing. We were sitting together tonight. He spent 2 weeks in Philadelphia and different parts of Pennsylvania campaigning. You know, he sent the rocket up 2 weeks ago. And I saw that rocket coming down. I saw it was when it left, it was beautiful, shiny. When it came down, it didn't look so pretty. It was going 10,000 miles an hour, burning like hell. I said, what happened to your paint job? He said, we've never made a paint withstand that kind of heat. But I saw it coming down.
Republican presidential nomination. Kamala Harris has now earned enough delegate votes to become the Democratic nominee. This is a brand new presidential race.
As the U.S. goes to the polls to elect their next leader, who is winning, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at the table.
Kamala Harris is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas.
Your election headquarters, Joy News, brings you a...
But, you know, I was president, and now it looks like I was going to be maybe president again, so I figured I could ask him to hold. So I asked him to hold, and especially because you're going to be president again, they hold. So I took the phone down, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing this crazy thing that's going around and coming down. It looks like it's going to crash into the gantry. And I said, oh, no. And I said, do me a favor, do you mind holding for a couple of minutes? I want to see this. I thought it was a space-age movie or something. I put the phone down. Bad part, I didn't pick it up for 45 minutes, and he was holding. But this spaceship came down, and I saw those engines firing, and it looked like it was over. It was going to smash. And then I saw the fire pour out from the left side, and I put it straight. And it came down so gently, and then it wrapped those arms around it, and it held it. And just like you hold your baby at night, your little baby, And it was a beautiful thing to see. And I called Elon. I said, Elon, was that you? He said, yes, it was. I said, who else can do that? Can Russia do it? No. Can China do it? No. Can the United States do it other than you? No. Nobody can do that. I said, that's why I love you, Elon. That's great. And you know, when we had the tragic Hurricane Helene, and it hit North Carolina, they were really devastated, the water. This was a big water, as big as we've ever seen, water hurricane. It built lakes out of nothing. Fields became lakes, and the danger was unbelievable. And the people from North Carolina came to me and they said, would it be possible, at all possible, for you to speak to Elon Musk? We need Starlink. I said, what's Starlink? It's a form of communication. So I called Elon, and I'll tell you what, he had, and it was very dangerous. People would die. They had no communication. All the wires were down. I called Elon Musk. I said, Elon, you have something called Starlink. Is that right? Yes, I do. What the hell is it? He said, it's a communication system that's very good. I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast. It was incredible. So, and it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. We have to protect our super geniuses. I want to thank some of the guys. You know, we have up here today the U.S. Open champion. He's a fantastic golfer. He's slightly longer than me. It's a little bit longer than me. Just a little bit. Bryson DeChambeau is up here someplace. What happened to Bryson? Where is he? Bryson. Oh, he was shot. He's hitting balls. Oh, he's on the way. He's hitting balls. Bryson. Oh, look at him. He's got a great career going. Great U.S. Open, Bryson. That's a fantastic job. And we also have a man, Dana White, who has done some job. He's a tough guy. So Dana started UFC and came to me, do you mind if I use your, nobody wanted to give him Marines because they said it's a rough sport, a little rough. And I helped him out a little bit, and I went, and they said, this is the roughest sport I've ever seen, but I began to like it, and he loved it, and nobody's done a better job in sports. And you know, he's a very motivational kind of a guy, what he does. He gets these fighters, and they really go at it, and it's become one of the most successful sports enterprises anywhere at any time. It's doing so well. I'd like to ask Dana just to say a couple of words, because people love to hear from him. Dana,
please. Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family does. This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hard-working man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, busting with the boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
that is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like probably like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and We're going to turn it around. We're going to do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're going to do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hard-working people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again. And now he's a great guy, and he really means it. He wants to do some things, and we're going to let him go to it. I just said, but Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, go have a good time, Bobby. We're going to be paying down debt. We're going to be reducing taxes. We can do things that nobody else can do. Nobody else is going to be able to do it. China doesn't have what we have. Nobody has what we have. But we have the greatest people also. Maybe that's the most important thing. This campaign has been so historic in so many ways. We've built the biggest, the broadest, the most unified coalition. They've never seen anything like it in all of American history. They've never seen it. Young and old, men and women, rural and urban. And we had them all helping us tonight, when you think. I mean, I was looking at it. I was watching it. They had some great analysis of the people that voted for us. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African-American, Hispanic-American, Asian-American, Arab-American, Muslim-American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have security. We want to have things be good, safe. We want great education. We want a strong and powerful military, and ideally we don't have to use it. You know, we had no wars. 4 years we had no wars, except we defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in record time, but we had no wars. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. But this is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom. Together, we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny. We're going to achieve the most incredible future for our people. Yesterday, as I stood at my last stop on the campaign trail, I'll never be doing a rally again. Can you believe it? I think we've done 900 rallies approximately from them. Can you imagine? 901, something, a lot of rallies. And it was sad. Everybody was sad. Many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great, great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term. When we became more and more successful, people started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it. Because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Donald J. Trump, the man who will be the 47th president of the United States, in West Palm Beach at the convention center there. He said he's going to make America great again for all Americans. Said God spared his life for a reason in those 2 assassination attempts. He said promises made, promises kept, and he has a big agenda ahead. He thanked a lot of people on that stage and said success will bring us together, trying to bring the country together after what is a bruising, damaging, very vitriolic campaign that comes to an end with this massive win. He praised a lot of people, including Elon Musk, who he called a new star, up-and-comer, that guy.
Have you met him? Have you heard
I
about
think he's
him?
an up-and-comer.
He went on about the rocket for a while.
He did. But he did the dismount, and now he goes on to be president-elect of the United States once again.
It's an extraordinary story, an absolutely phenomenal political comeback for Donald J. Trump, who will be the 47th president of the United States when he is inaugurated on January the 20th. And he said that God spared him from those assassination attempts in order to lead the country. He said success will bring us together, and he said it was an honor. And he thanked everyone involved and thanked the American people for tonight's outcome.
We have no indication that Vice President Harris has made a phone call. We're trying to get confirmation that there has been any concession. We don't have any word that that has happened. We were told by her campaign that she's going to wait till tomorrow to do something and to respond to all of this. But no phone call, as we can tell right now. We're going to wrap up with our panel, Harold Ford Jr., Katie Pavlich, Mark T.
And that's it, the United States election, well, drawing to a close, if you may, the Electoral College deciding who becomes the next president, the 47th president of the United States. And number 45 apparently is coming back. I'm talking about Donald John Trump. In case you didn't know, there's a John in his name. And 267 of those needed, the magic number 270 electoral votes. He's just a whisker away at this point. Statistically, he's practically there. Like you just heard, there's been no concession from Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee or representative. But we're here in the studio, and we're going to be having a discussion on the fallout from this American election. Happy or not, America has decided, like I said earlier, they have chosen their chalice, and they'll have to drink down to the dregs. You make your choice, you make your bed, you lie on it. But joining me in the studio, Sweetie Abochi is in the wings. She's also here. We also have Nanaya Omreku. He's an analyst of international affairs. He follows these matters keenly as far as the American system and its elections are concerned. I also have in the studio, he will be walking us through the slides, the different dynamics, age categories and others. How did people vote? We'll be having all those conversations. Kofi Ajay is a data analyst. He joins the conversation as well. But we also have Dr. Arthur Kennedy. He is a political stalwart. We all know him, a medical doctor. And he also resides in the United States. So he has a lot to say about that system. I'll be finding out whether he voted and how he voted. And we also have, finally joining the conversation, from the USA, Pennsylvania to be specific. And you know how crucial that state was as far as the Electoral College votes. Martin Petigo joins us from there. He's a Ghanaian American citizen. Gentlemen, Doc, Martin.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Doc, can I hear you?
Yes, good morning.
It's really good to have you. So hold for me, gentlemen. Let me come right here into the studio and start with Nanaya Mreku. Did you see this coming?
Well, good morning to you and all your viewers. I think I had projected right here on Joy News yesterday that the indicators pointed to me that Trump was going to win this election. And if you look at the issues that were up for discussion, Americans decided, and they indeed decided to go in the direction of Trump. I think Trump came across as somebody that could, savor the America's economy. And economy was one of the salient issues up for discussion. Immigration. The Biden administration is said to have done a very bad job, especially when it had Kamala Harris, who was considered as a border czar. He was put at the front line in solving immigration issue, and the Democrats never had anything to show. These are real issues that are biting American citizens. Economy, jobs, price of groceries, all these other things. And Trump is seen as the best man. And you see how his 2 times assassination attempt also went in his favor. In U.S. elections, what you call the conservative, Christians do matter. And
mostly the evangelicals.
Evangelicals. Right? And Trump's assassination attempt came around as he was seen as a mystified force, right? And the fact that he was able to avoid this assassination attempt meant there was something bigger, a bigger
larger than life.
Exactly. And it's played to his gallery, and we see that he has repeated it in what appears to be a victory speech. Even though I was expecting that he would, take his time, he would apply brakes on that. But we also know Donald Trump. It's a way of being assertive and making sure that he knows what is happening, so you don't come around and alter election result. So I think by and large, for me, I had predicted, and I had also predicted that it will probably be a slim margin, and we are seeing what is happening. If you look at North Carolina, it looks as if he did well, and it's the state he won in 2020, but it looks as if he's done better now than in 2020. That tells you that Americans are really deciding to go in his direction. Unfortunately, we have to wait and see what happens, but it looks as if by the permutations we have now, and following keenly from Associated Press, Trump is headed to the White House for now.
Wow. That is the tale of the tape. But let me come back into the studio now and focus on Kofi Ajay. Kofi Ajay, our data analyst. He's going to be walking us through different dynamics. Kofi, good morning. What do you have for us?
Morning, Ben. I mean, if you look at all the dynamics, the 2 main candidates, we're looking at this magic figure on the wall, 270. Just like Ghana, you need to get, 50% plus 1 of popular vote. But in America, you need to get this magic number on the screen there of the Electoral College vote, which is 538. Now we know that Trump has actually crossed this, threshold, and he's heading to the White House. But going into this year's election, these were some of the polls that we saw. This was Gallup's final poll in October before the election. It turns out this really did not work, but it actually sits within the margin of error that poll came through. Now, away from that, we look at if elections were actually held on popularity, what is the status of both political parties? If you look at the Democrat from 1992 to 2020, if you look at the 8 elections that have been held so far, they have won 7. Republicans just 1. If you add this year's election, that brings Republicans' number to 2 versus 7. That means that Democrats, in terms of popularity, are there, way higher.
And you're talking about the popular vote.
The popular vote.
Because usually, you can count from George W. Bush all the way, versus Al Gore, all the way to now. Usually, the Democrats would get the popular vote, but the Electoral College system would knock them off the pedestal.
Absolutely.
But this time, for the first time, you see Donald Trump getting the popular vote and also getting the Electoral College as well.
And in fact, that's what you have on the smart wall right now, where you're looking at the popular vote trend. This is the second time in the last 9 elections that the Republicans are actually winning the popular vote. We understand that Donald Trump didn't just win the Electoral College vote, but he also won the popular vote by more than 51%. The last time this ever happened in their favor was George W. Bush, who won it with 62%. And you can see how Democrats have actually been, dominating this space in terms of popular vote. But away from popular vote, let's talk about the most important aspect, which is the Electoral College. This is how it looks like. But this slide actually simplifies what we have on the screen for you. Just look at the elections from 1992 to 2020. And you could see that Donald Trump has been the best performing, presidential candidate for the Republicans in terms of the Electoral College. Even George Bush could not make it to above 300 of the 538, Electoral College votes. Donald Trump did it in 2016. That was a time where all the polls were saying that he was not going to win. And we know the famous Professor Alan Lichtman, who said he was going to win, and after winning, he scribbled a note to him and said, thank you. This year, he actually predicted something different, saying that, Kamala Harris was going to win. It didn't turn out that way. I don't know the note that Donald Trump will send to Alan Lichtman. But what we have on the screen right now tells you his dominance when it comes to the Republican Party in terms of electoral vote. These are some of the key issues that went into the elections, what was important to Americans. So we decided to track this from the last Gallup poll. And what we see was that the economy was number one. In terms of extremely important versus very important, if you add these two, we are talking about some 90%. That means that if you sampled 10 of the American registered voters, 9 out of them said economy was a top issue, followed by democracy, terrorism, and other issues such as the type of Supreme Court justices candidates will actually pick. That was very, very important. And the last one that we all expected, immigration. So in terms of the top 5, immigration was actually the last one, but the figure there is still significant. If you add the two, we are talking about some 70%. The last one that has to do with if you really drill down to those who participated in this, registered or this polling and trying to see those who are actually Republicans. What you see is that for them, economy was the top issue, followed by immigration, and there were some other issues. If you go to the side of the Republicans, it was totally different. For them, democracy was number one. Number two was a type of Supreme Court justices candidates will pick. Why? Because we all know that it was a Supreme Court that allowed Trump to actually contest this year's election. Abortion, which never actually featured in the top 5 of the Republicans, was number 3 in terms of the demo. Healthcare and education, very important to them. Now, this for me is the perfect graph to actually explain what really went into this year's election.
And Kofi, I want us to do this. After you're done with that, I just want to also let us quickly, very quickly, so that we can bring in our guests, look at the age dynamics, the race dynamics, and other crucial matters very quickly, and then we'll get to our guests. But
so let's look at this crucial matter, which is, this was the question, which candidates will better handle these key issues? So you have these 7 issues there, and just like you see, on the issue of economy, the Americans said that they believe Trump had the probability to actually solve that situation. 54% said that, look, Trump can solve it. In terms of immigration, they said Trump can solve it.
Right.
Foreign affairs, Trump can solve it. Gun violence, they were actually tied there. The health, abortion, and climate change. So if you look at the issues, the ones that were very national in nature, Trump was actually leading in terms of economy, immigration, and foreign affairs.
Right. Kofi, hold it there for me. I'll bring you back on because there are other, pertinent issues we have to look at. But let me also bring in Dr. Arthur Kennedy and, of course, Martin Pettigo. I'll start with Martin. Pennsylvania, crucial state as far as this election was concerned. Did you vote?
Yes, I did vote.
How did you vote?
Yep.
How did you vote?
MAGA, Trump.
You voted for Trump?
Yep.
For which reasons? What made you want to vote for Trump?
On 4 reasons. First was strength of the economy, border security, strength of our national security, controlling inflation, and then about fracking, based on these 4.
Fracking, that's interesting.
Yes.
What were your concerns with fracking?
Well, I believe that America has one of the third largest world reserve in the world, and it's like we're still buying oil from Saudi Arabia. We can frack and then still reduce cost of living for our people here, American people. So.
Okay, so it was about the prices of fuel.
That's right.
I see. Did you participate in early voting, or did you vote as yesterday?
No, I'm a conservative, so I voted yesterday. Right.
All right. Hold for me. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, did you vote as well? I mean, I don't know what the dynamics are for you.
No, I didn't vote. I haven't taken American citizenship.
Okay.
I've declined to take.
All right. So I'll come back to Martin briefly. You voted on these issues. Your side has won. But if you look at the dynamics, especially in Pennsylvania, where you are, what do you think accounted for Donald Trump sweeping, taking Pennsylvania? Because it was one of those crucial places that either one had to win to get a head start or get ahead. What do you think?
I think he spoke the common man's language. You know, he went out to the voters and let them understand. Look at your life. Look at how much you are paying. Look at how much you are earning today and how much you are paying on supermarket, and also on fuel, and then compare it to my time and then this present time. And it's just obvious. The math is just clear. You know, look at your lifestyle today and then the previous 4 years, and then just do the math for yourself. And then he spoke the lay down man's language. He campaigned. He didn't change any strategy. The strategy he used this season was just like what he used 4 years ago, and that's it. And there's one thing about an entrepreneur. The way entrepreneurs move or they forecast or they project things is different from the political, politicians who see things from a political perspective. So he came in as a businessman, tackled the whole thing as a project, and he won.
Before I go back to Dr. Arthur Kennedy, there's this area of interest for me. So you voted on the back of these, but you do realize that in terms of GDP, the GDP is much better than under Trump currently for the United States. In terms of inflation and some other dynamics like unemployment and all that, while you may say that at the micro level, you're buying groceries for more and all of that, the dynamics favor the Democrats. Are you aware of that? That's for you, Martin.
Come in again. Sorry. I was thinking you were talking to Mr. Arthur Kennedy. Come in again with the question. Sorry.
Right. So, I mean, Trump supporters would often point to the hardship and all of that. But I'm saying if you look at the GDP, it's better now under the Democrats. If you look at inflation, if you look at unemployment, those figures don't point to times being better under Trump. You do realize that?
It is true. You know, if you have to talk about statistics, I mean, the status quo will always reign. But at the end of the day, just look at your pocket. How much are you spending now? So people are looking at the everyday activity. Today, how much am I spending now? How much am I paying on taxes? How much am I paying on a mortgage? How much am I paying for gas? We call it gas. We call it petrol in Ghana. So it's not about the statistics. It's about how much money have I paid this year for just goods and services.
Right. Sweetie Abachi will be coming in shortly, but Dr. Arthur Kennedy, what would be your reflections on the performance of Donald John Trump versus Kamala Harris, how the chips have fallen?
Yeah, good morning to your viewers and to fellow panelists. I think history was going to be made either way. If Kamala had won, she would be the first woman to be president of the United States. But Trump made history too. He would only be the second president to return to the presidency after losing it. The person to do it was Grover Cleveland when he did it in 1884. Mr. Trump has had a remarkable turnaround, and I think this might probably be the greatest political comeback in American history. They used to say that about Nixon. But I think the keys to Trump's victory, as Martin puts it, are correct, but there are other factors. I think, obviously, talking about the economy, I think you were trying to make a case that the statistics about the American economy now is better than it was under Trump. But most Americans on the streets don't believe that. They think that grocery prices have gone up, mortgages have gone up. I pay a few of them myself. So that matters.
But Dr. Arthur Kennedy, the statistics are what they are. Is it you can give it to them and say, okay, what I feel does not reflect the statistics, but the statistics are what they are. You can't change that. They are the reality. So it's either some people don't want to read or maybe they won't trust the stats.
Okay, so let me give you some history on that. In 1992, you remember Bill Clinton's strategy was the economy stupid. He won the election by campaigning on an economy that most Americans felt was bad. What most people don't know is that a few days after that election, figures for that quarter came in showing that while Clinton had won by top how good the German, British, and other economies were relative to America, the American economy had actually been better than all of them. Unfortunately, those statistics.
Hello, Doc. Okay, we seem to be losing Dr. Arthur Kennedy a bit there. We'll try to reconnect with him, get the feedback, and then get what his thoughts are. He was making an interesting analogy there, taking us all the way back to 1992. Of course, Bill Clinton taking us to the close of the century. But let me come into the studio, Sweetie Abochi. I don't know what your reactions are so far.
Well, first, I just want to start with my elements of surprise. You know, in the build-up to where we are right now, most of these posters and analysts said that it would be a tight race. And towards the end, that is when we'll see a shift. And I understand Arthur Kennedy's back. Let's get a complete trail of thought before we get back on.
Hi, Doc. You were making a point. We lost you at some point. You would have to unmute, Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Yeah. So another point is that it is true that Donald Trump's political career was almost over after what happened on January 6th. But I believe that his career was resurrected by a number of factors. I think the Democrats went after him too hard, and a lot of people on the streets believed that they were targeting him unfairly. And some of the charges they brought against him were ludicrous, you know, things like paying somebody for sex. The federal government even thought that no election of had been committed.
Well, Doc. Hello, Doc. Okay. Well, let's take it from there because I mean, Kofi Adjei is also standing in the wings, but
I did want to just make this brief point that at the heart of the concerns of the people of America, and it's, of course, there's the democracy, there's cultural and political landscapes here and there, but I was looking forward to a tighter run. You know, I didn't think that Donald Trump would, you know, give such a gap in terms of what we are seeing right now. Also because
the electoral college system, I mean, the numbers don't...
Hold on a second. Also because aside the economy and the important things, there was so many controversies. We know that he has some felony charges right now. I'm talking about Donald Trump. And of course, Kamala Harris had his own fair share about his origin and, you know, controversies around that. But what I'm concerned about right now is foreign policy. What does this mean? We know that Trump has taken a strong stance on China. We know that he's talking about his approach that we focus on bilateral agreements, NATO and defense question and all that. How do the people of Americans, and Martin, this is a question I want to ask you. How does all this sit with you in terms of Trump's posturing in terms of foreign policy, his comments or his position on China, NATO, and the Middle East and other regions? What do you make of it?
And if I may add, the fact that the last time he was president, you know, he withdrew the U.S. from some, you know, UN participation and even funding. I don't know what your thinking is on that as you answer that question.
So let's find out from you, Martin. What does all this mean to you in terms of foreign policy in America right now? A return of Trump?
Demonstrated when he was in power, peace to strength. You know, when Trump was president, we didn't have new wars. It was just old wars. ISIS was defeated. China, there was tariff on China. Mexico, there was tariffs from Mexico. I mean, the border issue, Mexico had to come in and then parade their troops by the borders of the United States. We went to a negotiation with tariffs of them. They said, if you don't stop the illegal entry, we're going to put tariffs on you. It happened. So with Trump, it's all about common sense. He goes down there, he looks at the situation, he looks at the metrics, and then he said, look, this is the way we have to go. There must be a new comeback, a new resurrection, and that's what I see. Trump has demonstrated this before. Is it 4 years ago, 2020? And I think based on those records, the American people have spoken.
Okay, I think Ofeje is also standing by to give us more details. Let's get right into that.
Well, so we've been looking at the Democrats and Republicans. In fact, we're talking about Harris and Trump, their policies on certain key issues. Let's first start with immigration. Now that Trump is on his way to the White House, let's give him that focus, what he's been saying about immigration. He says he's going to do the biggest deportation operation ever in the U.S. history. He's talking about some 20 million people that are going to be deported if he's actually elected. He's been elected. Let's see if this will actually pan out. Let's look at the economy, what Trump has been saying about economy. He's been talking about tax cuts, imposing, sweeping tariffs on imports, which we've been talking about, and protecting Social Security and Medicare. On the issue of abortion, he says that abortion policies should be set by the states. So he feels that overturning Roe v. Wade should be maintained. I mean, if you look at an issue such as, if you look at the geopolitical issues or international affairs issues, these are the top issues that we will be looking at. One is the war in the Middle East, NATO alliance, and climate changes, aid for Ukraine and immigration. Let's look at what Trump has been saying on that currently. On the war in the Middle East, he says he's going to end it immediately. He's been elected. Let's see what he will do. And on the issue of NATO alliance, he says that he may consider leaving the 75-year-old alliance. And he says that, look, we are not going to pour unnecessary money into fighting anybody's war. We probably will leave very soon. On the issue of climate change, he sees this to be a hoax, and he says that he's going to exit that landmark Paris climate issue. And we know that President Akufo-Addo has been, saying that the world leaders should actually, stick to their commitment by providing that $100 billion that they actually promised African leaders in fighting climate change. Trump doesn't see this to be a big issue for him. On the issue of China, for us, this is important because whatever happens between, the U.S. and China actually has an impact on Ghana as a country. He says that what's going to threaten the scale-up economic, attacks on Beijing and enact, a 10 to 20%, tariff on nearly all imports from China. Very, very important. And you also have to take a look at that. Aid to Ukraine. Aid to Ukraine. Americans were actually really looking at this. Look, if you go on the streets of New York and you are around, let's say, Broadway or St. Nicholas, and you always see the protests around Columbia University saying that the war in the Middle East must end, that tells you that Americans are not really happy with what is happening in the Middle East. He says that if you give him the power, he is going to end it, and he gives a timeline by 20th of January. That is actually going to, end. On immigration, this is important. We've been talking about that, the 20 million deportation that he's seeking to carry out. To Africans, these are the key issues that will be important to us. Why are we even discussing this? Because we have a stake in this. I mean, there's something in it for us. Immigration for us is key. LGBTQ plus activities, very important for us. Trade, grants or aid, and climate funding, very, very key to us as Africans.
Okay.
And there are so many things that Trump has been saying, and I want to show this last slide on immigration. We can't talk about AGWA, but let's look at immigration, since that is also very, very important, looking at the deportation exercise carried out by all the presidents in the last 8 administration. So this is what you have on your screen. Obama was actually touted as the deporter-in-chief. We've been checking this from 1992 to 2024, seeing who actually deported more foreign nationals. This month, Clinton deported 12.3 million, foreign nationals. Bush, 10.3, followed by Obama, 5.3. He is one of our own. He deported 5.3 million people. Trump, 1.5 million people in 4 years. And there you go, Biden did 1.1 million people. So he said he's going to carry out the biggest one, which means that's going to exceed this 12 million we see on the screens, possibly 20 million people.
And that is pretty interesting. So I guess, in a way, people have voted for deportation as well. So we'll see how that pans out. But let's come into the studio as well. So there are some interesting statistics from the BBC as far as exit polls are concerned. I just want you to share your thoughts with us on the permutations, age, race, and the rest. Figure this. We all knew that white males, even more so evangelicals in the United States, would go heavy for Trump. But if you look at it, males voting for Kamala Harris, 43%. For Trump, 54%. That's a deficit of about 10 percentage points. Females, of course, the reverse is true. 54% voted for Kamala Harris, 44% for Trump. But then if you look at race, whites, that is, so those voting for Kamala Harris, 43%, 55% voted for Trump. Then blacks, 86% to be expected. But still, maybe, if you look at the categorization, less than the Obama had enjoyed, and maybe still less than Joe Biden had enjoyed. A paltry 12% for Trump. When you come to the Hispanic community, why is this important? Because some of them had come into the fray and moved away from different dynamics and said that they would actually vote Trump. And it's important that we actually get into these dynamics. Those Hispanics or Latinos, 53%. Those voting for Trump, 45%. Asians, 55%. Trump, 39%. And others, 41% for Harris. So if you look at the blacks, the Hispanics, the Asians, it appears some of the numbers dropped in there. And that may have affected Kamala Harris. What's your take?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of information to process at this particular moment. I wish there was a projection for me to really speak to it. But it also tells you that Harris has not been able to pull her weight in terms of securing votes for the Democrat Party as compared to Biden.
Even. Yeah.
And it's a very clear cut, especially when you are looking at states like Nevada. You know, in the last 12 elections, whoever has had to win 10 times. Nevada had been very decisive. And if you look at the terrain, Harris is unable to pull her side of the bargain in securing votes for the Democratic, party to win this election. And it also tells
you think it was because she came late to the party?
Look, to me, time has to do everything. Time has to do with everything in this election. And to me, Harris didn't have that enough time to be able to establish a solid base.
To get the momentum.
Yes.
Trump had always been there, court cases and everything.
And let me tell you something. I can give you a historical analysis of how Americans tend to punish first-time presidents who decide not to go and put up their vice president. In 1952, it happened. President Harry Truman decided not to go and put up his vice presidential nominee. What happened to the election? They lost, and that is how we saw Eisenhower come into power. 1968, a very similar scenario like what happened today. That was President Lyndon B. Johnson decided not to go for the election and wanted Hubert Humphrey to come and replace the Democrat Party. What happened? They lost miserably, and then Nixon came into power. So the terrain had been there. If you're somebody that is a student of international politics, you should know that Professor Lynchman was going to be laughing at the wrong side of his mouth this time around.
And projections,
and truly.
Because he's practically always been spot on. But this time, he's been exposed.
Yes, unfortunately, I really like his analysis because he has a scientific calculation that he follows through. And this time he predicted that 8 out of the 10 goes in favor of Harris. So obviously, we were expecting a win for Harris. But this is election, anything happens. So the demographic constitution of U.S. election changed this time around. And unfortunately, it went in the favor of Trump and to the disadvantage of Harris. So I think these are some of the nuances. And for me, I was expecting women to come out in their numbers to vote for Kamala Harris. Because you see, she is representing reproductive rights.
Right.
And American women like to accept that right.
Right.
But the men are also interested in somebody who wants to protect women's rights even when they don't need it. And Trump stood up as somebody that is willing to do that, protecting reproductive rights even when you don't want it. So all this play, and once again, I was expecting some change in the Latino vote, especially with the way things happen in the New York, rally.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it looks as if Trump still has a very solid Latino vote when it comes to voting. So these are some of the, again, I was probably expecting to see a new swing state. Maybe some other state have to politically realign and tell a different story. But it looks like it's still going to be the status quo going forward. But these are very interesting dynamics that we need to revisit.
So if you look at it, the reverse happened. So the women's vote, as much as Kamala got 54%, it was counteracted by the male vote of 54%. So it equaled out if you look at the numbers.
And I'm happy that if you are looking at the issues that are really crisp in U.S., abortion rights it comes down. Because at the end of the day, it's bread and butter issue. People are looking at their condition, to vote. And so when people were talking about abortion, it was true. Roe v. Wade had been changed. It's set a lot of controversy in the country. But people are looking at things that affect, their survival, their survivability, immigration, economy. So these are important things that I think, we can draw.
Right.
And you're right. There was a lot of enthusiasm around abortion, immigration, and all that. But I do want to find out from both Dr. Kennedy and Martin. Yes. So the mainstream media appears to be playing a significant role in this election. What are experts saying about the overall media influence in terms of voter decision? Let me start with you, Martin.
Well, I think I would like to add something to what my big brother just said. I differ in a way. Harris, right from the beginning, wasn't the favorite before she assumed the position to be the runner of the above the party. Her rating was really low when Biden was in office. I wouldn't use the word nobody likes there. She wasn't really performing. She was giving the borders. She didn't do anything about it. To the extent that she didn't really prepare for this office until Biden was coup-d'etat and pushed off. So for her to come,
she didn't prepare for it?
She didn't really prepare for this position.
What are you inferring that from? Because she was in the meeting.
Yes, because that's when she became vice president, she was given a lot of roles she couldn't perform. For example, she was the border czar. The border was still open. She came out and said the border is secure. It's still not secured. Every role that was given to her, she didn't champion it until when they had the last debate between Donald Trump and then Biden, when he had to be kicked out, she had to be forced into it, quickly speed up and then prepare. Now, the media had to come in quickly to project her within 3 months. So, look, the American people know what's happening on the ground. The media did a very good job by projecting her and pushing her until she became the delight song.
Martin, the media, especially Fox News, had also projected Trump. You can't say the media, and there are right-wing, left-wing media.
Trump has always been in the business. He has been an ex-president. You understand what I'm saying? And he's still running. He didn't even go for the congressional debate. You understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that, check the stats. Harris wasn't the favorite until Biden was off the ticket. She had only 3 months to prepare. She couldn't prepare. She couldn't take hard questions. She couldn't come to the hostile media. All her questions were cooked. So this is the problem.
This is a pretty. You say she was coup d'etat first of all, which I found pretty interesting, and now you're saying all her questions were cooked. What's the basis for that?
She was on Fox.
Well, you should watch all her interviews. Very soft. She wasn't really
Did you watch the debate?
I did. Which debate? Which one are you talking about?
The first one.
First debate.
Oh yes, I did watch the debate. That was one of a lot that I could say that she really came out, but look at all her subsequent debates, subsequent interviews with all CNN, NBC, and ABC, 60. It was just soft questions. She came to Fox. She was supposed to be in Fox. Exactly 6 p.m. She got there at 15 to, had only 20 minutes just for soundbite. I mean, just roll down all the pages, roll down all the tapes. You know, so she didn't really prepare for this. But the media had to come in, and I just want to thank God. I thank TikTok, Facebook. I mean, now we are going through a new phase of media work right now.
But Martin, you said she was clearly not the favorite. Is it absolutely inconsequential that Trump is a convicted felon? I mean, we have all those 34 counts of felony indictment, both in business and his political office. Is it inconsequential? I know that the laws in the U.S. doesn't prevent a convicted felon from running in office, but is it
perhaps those were cooked as well?
Well, yeah. How consequential was that?
You see, should I say that the Justice Department was weaponized, seriously, on Trump? You know, and he had to face all these charges. Things that happened so many years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, was all brought. Why? Because they wanted to prevent him from running for president. So it was weaponized against him. It rather made him more popular because the American people can see what's happening. They saw what is happening. They could tell that this is Justice Department being weaponized against this man.
So are you content with what happened at the Capitol building?
Come again?
The Capitol incident.
That was a disaster. That was a disaster. That shouldn't be something that we should talk about. It's a disgrace. But again, it tells you that American people are not interested in justice. They are more interested in how they can go to a grocery store, how they can buy gas. That's what American people are more interested in. Let us not forget, we have the political life and then the everyday life. The politicians will always like to talk about justice, will like to talk about taking Trump to court, etc., etc. But American people are the final voice. What we are experiencing now is a great resurrection, a great comeback, and a golden age for America.
Well, thank you for those comments. There's an interesting comment that has come through. I'll not mention the person's name because I don't have the person's permission. But he says this, and I'm directing that to you, Dr. Arthur Kennedy. He says, one thing everyone seems to be running away from is the fact that America is not ready for a woman president. They managed to deal with the black factor through Obama, but they are certainly not ready for a woman, and a black at that. Well, she has a heritage in Indian, Haitian, and all of that. But, Doc, do you think that is actually the scenario? It had nothing to do with how much she knew, what she stood for. It was just the fact that maybe, for some, she was a woman.
Yeah, I'll come to that, but if you give me a moment to respond to some of the things that have been said. Vice presidents as incumbents have always not done well in elections here. It's not new. In actual fact, Martin Van Buren was the first incumbent vice president elected directly to the presidency in 1886. When he did that, we had to wait till 1988, which is 1.5 centuries before George Herbert Walker Bush did it in 1988. It is not something that happens that often. Having said that, the idea that Kamala wasn't prepared is a little...
I think he was saying it was a little far-fetched, but we'll try to work on the...
before she became president.
So, Dr. Arthur Kennedy, we missed what you said. You said it was a little what, far-fetched?
Unfair to her, because she ran for president herself, you know, so, and she was vice president. So I think that out of respect for her, we should respect her. Having said that, I don't think her problem was that she didn't have enough time. In actual fact, after the Democratic Convention, she was ahead in the polls. And that lead solidified after her debate. It's just that after her debate, like Martin pointed, she avoided interviews, her performance in interviews was bad. As for the question of whether America is ready for a woman president or not, I think when the candidate is ready and the candidate meets the moment. Obama was an exceptional candidate. People look at the race. When we find an exceptional candidate who is a woman, she will win. I think Hillary, for example, appeared more substantive than Kamala. And I think that if she had done a few things differently in her campaign, she probably would have made it. I think Kamala, this hand.
It appears we are losing Dr. Arthur Kennedy again.
The democracy, the economy, it was difficult for her to distance herself from positions she had taken earlier that were very controversial. So I think those were the things that got it for Trump. And I agree with Martin. Americans are very proud. It's not that they don't care about justice, but they can see injustice from a mile away. So they felt Trump was being treated unfairly. And I always knew that this focus on January 6th will amount to nothing. Whoever wanted to understand it had to go back and read about the trial of Irambwe in 1804. He was the vice to Thomas Jefferson, and he shot Alexander Hamilton. He was actually tried for organizing an insurrection against the United States and acquitted. Americans are very fair, and I want to add that if a third world banana republic never have been on the ballot because he would have been taken out. This is where institutions work, and the public is very fair-minded, and they are very conscious of the fact that power ultimately resides with the people and not with bureaucrats.
Interesting comments, Dr. Arthur Kennedy. I'll come back to you, Nana Yomriko, in the studio briefly. So just on two quick dynamics, age and education. You would realize that younger people voted more for Harris. Middle-aged people voted for Trump. So 18 to 29-year-olds, 55% of them voted for Harris. 30 to 44-year-olds, 51% of them. It is the 45 to 64-year-old bracket where she falls to 45%. And as for 65 years and over, it's 50 for her, 49% for Trump. But here's the other interesting thing. When it comes to education, those with a college degree, college graduates, 57%, you would say, educated, voted for Harris. 40% voted for Trump. Those with no college degree, 43% voted for her, 55% for Trump. What do you make of that?
So what I picked from what you just said is most educated people voted for Harris.
Right.
And then the other group voted for Trump. And then the youth rallied behind Harris, and the old age rallied behind
middle-aged. Because even with the 64 plus, 65 and above, it was 50 for her, 49% for Trump.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. But then again, it tells you some of the issues that have been raised during the elections. Look, I had always said that, but for Harris, the election was for Trump to give. It was his election.
Right.
Either way.
It was his to lose.
It was his to lose, sorry.
Right.
If Biden was coming up for me, it was still a cool chop for Trump.
Do you feel Biden would have performed worse than Harris?
Worse.
Okay.
And there's a reason why I say, once again, I can give you a historical analysis where frail and feeble presidents have been voted out after their first term. It happened to Jimmy Carter, right? There are other presidents that can go ahead to give you. But that being said, let me tell you this. The energy or the momentum that we saw during the Harris campaign was because Harris was able to energize the core Democrat voters who were not happy with Biden because they thought he wouldn't be a good fit for president in the second term, primarily because of his age. Right. So once he was taken away from the scene and Harris was introduced, then Trump was started looking as the old man in this election. And what it means is that it gave some boost to the Harris campaign. So age was important to me. He was able to energize the core voters. So it doesn't surprise me when I'm seeing this trend in terms of age-wise, the Gen Zs particularly rallying behind Harris. The old ones are conservative in orientation, and they are interested in very core issues of macho manism, strong manism, somebody to front America's America's internal strength. And they thought Trump would do a very good job at it. So this is one of the dynamics that I'll bring to perspective. Again, education. I do not want to believe that, because they were uneducated or haven't had a certain level, a certain class of
I don't think that is what it's saying, but it's merely painting the fact that more educated people voted Harris from the exit polls and some less educated ones.
But these uneducated group, right, are also coming from certain rural traditional areas that are very influential or very key in driving America's economy. And they are interested in
the Alabamas and other places.
Exactly. And that is why probably J.D. Vance was probably brought into the picture as somebody from Ohio who represents somebody who had nothing to something. And so looking at this statistics shouldn't be seen as explorables like what Hillary Clinton said to referring to Trump voters as a basket of deplorables, to which President Biden also referred to them as garbage.
Yeah.
That is not who voted for Trump, but key people that are interested in moving America's economy because of their contribution and how we see them. These are the people that voted for Trump, not necessarily because they are uneducated and because they were not able to read the policies and insight of Harris, therefore voted for Trump, if you understand what I'm saying.
I think it feeds into what Martin said about Trump speaking the common man's
language.
You know, so what he was saying resonated more with the people who were focused on a better economy and all that. But Dr. Kennedy, you have some responses for us.
Yes, I do. In actual fact, one of the things, 2 points, Trump has remade the Republican Party. He has made it a party for working people and the masses. It used to be a party of boardrooms and the establishment. He has reconnected that party to blue-collar workers. And that is a realignment that we are going to see go forward for a long time. Second, his choice of Vance as was masterful. Mr. Vance was eloquent, very focused. He delivered the points very well during the debate, and he has a life story that resonated a lot of people. You know, the children from a single mother who was a drug addict, who went to Ohio State, went to Yale, served in the military, made a lot of money. So his life story was attractive. But the big thing going forward is that Trump has significantly remade the Republican Party and connected to the masses. Our point is that the people without college degrees are more than the people with college degrees.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah, I said my last, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My last point was that the people without college degrees are more than the people with college degrees. There are only 1 in 3 Americans with college.
Okay, so that's a valid point. That's 2 against 1. From my end, 2 quick things. The first you don't have to respond to. We've already seen on social media, you know how the permutations have been. Apart from the last election, which did not go that way, some would replicate or say that, oh, what happens in the United States will happen in Ghana's elections. For someone who deals with empirical evidence, for me, that means nothing. But people have already started, a one-term president is back, so it may imply something else. Unless you're using some polls or something, it may not be the case. But from where you sit, gentlemen, your final words, how do you think Trump in the White House will impact Ghana, Africa, trade, migration or immigration, and everything in between? Quick thoughts. I'll start with you, Martin.
I'll say that he's going to be a very powerful president because he has his legacy at stake, and I know he's going to do something about his legacy. And then he would like to prove to the whole world, or to the American people, that he's not a Hitler, and that he's not in danger to democracy. And I know he's going to prove to us all that he is a great president of the United States of America.
Your choice of Hitler, though. Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
I actually, Trump talks a good game, but he doesn't deliver much. I think that the border will be tighter. The influx, as we've seen, it will stop. But the deportations, there won't be anywhere much deportations as people fear. You know, his people have started talking about deporting criminals, focusing on people who commit crimes. 20 million people will be very hard to deport. So I think there will be deportations, but we're not going to see as much as a lot of people think. I think that he will be very strong on there is unequivocal in support of Netanyahu. I think Trump feels that the Russia-Ukraine war has gone on for too long. Too many people have died. And I think that leaning on this relationship with Putin and Zelensky in Ukraine, I think that if he could, he would try to make a deal. And I think that the outlines of a deal are there very clear to give Russia an honorable way to, in effect, go back home without looking embarrassed so that the dying can stop. I think those are actually very reasonable goals. I think Trump will not pull U.S. from NATO. He will support it, but he thinks that other NATO members should step up and they need to do. So that is what I expect. And by the way, the last comment on the media, I think the media was irresponsibly Harris's corner. They have done studies that show that about 85% of coverage of Kamala Harris was positive,
I saw
and
that.
about 80% of coverage was negative.
Yeah.
So the media was unapologetically in her corner, and that was unfortunate. I am grateful that there was social media and other things, and the people looked at all the political spinning and in the end made up their own minds. It shows that America has resilience that the rest of the world must learn from. And I think Trump will be a decent president in the second term.
Okay, so you think he has learned his lessons. At the same point to you as I conclude my end of the conversation. And also he mentioned Israel. You know, Trump said that within a short period, I've forgotten whether he said 2 weeks, 50 days, 100 days or something, but he said he would end this Russia-Ukraine war. You followed that. Any quick reactions from my end?
I'm particularly concerned about what happens to Africa, you know, because Trump's engagement with Africa was very minimal during his presidency. So I'm looking forward to.
When you say engagement, what do you mean? Trade? What?
So foreign policy in terms of, you know, America has a tradition. So there are some traditional policies. There's AGOA, there's FEPA. Right, these ones are untouched. Yeah. And these two policies that I mentioned, they are up for negotiations. AGOA is up for negotiation, FEPA is up for negotiation. So what happens to these engagements with Trump's presidency? I'm looking forward to what is going to happen in Gaza, in Israel. We should be mindful that there's a lot of things that happened during Trump's time. I mean, as far as Israel and Gaza is concerned, it was during Trump's time that Tel Aviv was changed from as the capital to Jerusalem. Yeah. In fact, Trump supervised the transfer of the Golan Heights sovereignty to Israel during his presidency. It was also during his presidency.
Which also sparked a lot of trouble.
Exactly. Move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So there's a lot of people that are really watching to what will happen to foreign policy. And I think I agree with Doug when he says that there is going to be an end to the Ukraine debacle, but on terms, in my opinion, I think it will be on terms favorable to
Russia.
Yes, Vladimir Putin. And that will be the honorable way, you know, for him to save his face and then bring an amicable solution. So there's going to be international politics and foreign policy of the U.S. is going to be a roller coaster in the few days ahead of us. And I think international politics is as interesting as it's going to be with the 45th president back as the 47th president. Yeah.
Sweetie Abachi?
Yeah, I mean, that's it for me. No more questions. But I think countries with strong diaspora populations in the U.S. might face some increased challenges if Trump reintroduces stringent immigration policies. But let's see how it goes. And I'm also looking forward to see how the conversations around reproductive health, especially abortion, how it progresses in the United States of America. But that's that for me.
Well, this has been our conversation on the backdrop of the American elections. President number 47, Donald John Trump. I did say that if I were voting in the United States, I would have voted for Kamala Harris. But Donald John Trump, you have to give him his flowers. He is the man of the moment. He is president-elect if you look at the Electoral College votes. Thank you, our guests, for joining the conversation. We had in the studio Nanaya Mreku. He's an analyst as far as international affairs are concerned. He's an expert when it comes to American politics. We also had joining the conversation Martin Betigo from Pennsylvania in the United States. He's a Ghanaian-American citizen, and he voted for Trump, proudly so. And then there is Dr. Arthur Kennedy, a medical doctor, a man who follows the politics in the United States. He lives there as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. We're grateful. Thank you. And that's how we cap it off. We'll be back with more action because, yeah, we're coming home to Ghana. How about our own politics? What are you expecting ahead of December 7th? More action after the break. Welcome back, and we're still talking politics and matters arising, but we are focusing on Ghana. USD. How about Ghana? What's going to happen? We have joining us Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Mustapha Gbande. He joins us in the studio. Sweetie Abachi is also here, my in-house guest. Good morning.
Mustapha, they say brave men wear pink.
Yeah, I think I'm one.
How brave are you feeling this morning?
Very brave to see the empire of President Akufo-Addo come down. I want to see...
The way you started this
I want to see this whole regime collapse to ashes. And until that happens, I don't have a rest.
Your pink getting into lavender, is that how you're starting?
Yes, I mean, he says brave men wear pink. And I'm saying that as a choosing generation, a time like this, few ones to rise up.
But please. You want to see the Akufo-Addo
empire.
Yes,
collapse. The empire that
collapsed to ashes. What do you mean?
The empire that was built at the back of the Ajapade. I have empirical evidence that there is a strategic implementation of the content of that document against all of us. Whether you like
Mustapha,
it or not.
We have to be careful with this. When you say empirical evidence,
I have seen...
Empirical evidence can't be contradicted.
I can tell you evidence, tangibles, of how these documents have been implemented against you.
You can say things that you think.
No, I don't.
No. You think, but you can't say for a fact that they are based on what is in the document.
What is the product of this document? What is the product of this document? Someone sat in an editorial room and re-established or reproduced something that have occurred. So if you read this, you have evidence of what happened yesterday. Okay? Akumadan to get tomato processing factory, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, but he hasn't accounted for the one district, one factory from 2016 to 2017. So this is what Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia said in Ashanti region. Empirically.
The NPP could also argue that that document that was purported to have come from your camp on how to capture the legislature, to capture power.
So allow me...
Is that also true? If someone, made certain allusions, would that also be true?
If anybody in this country today meets any group of people, mobilizes society to ensure that this government is removed, it's a legitimate and a just cause. Very legitimate and a just cause. And we should not apologize for it.
Wait, when you say this government will be removed, I am sure you mean through the ballot box.
Of course.
Okay.
Just for the sake of I'm not going to support any government in this country that is a product of an illegitimate means. No. I'm not going to support anybody to raise arms in order to produce a government.
Mustapha, you'd have to put your phone on.
I agree.
So we don't.
I agree. So in that context, every government in this country must emerge through voting. So if I say that I want to see President Akufo-Addo's empire collapse, it will collapse through election. The Ghanaian people are going to clearly make a statement in Ghana. A statement that our destiny must be protected. A statement that the integrity of this country must be restored. The statement that the authority that Ghana has in Africa, which makes all of us proud. That is why when you speak, people in the US are listening. That credibility must be restored. A statement that a bad government must be punished. That is what is going to happen. And for me, like what happened in the US, to go down in history for academics, to change the dynamics of our politics, is good for political landscape and growth. That when you come into government and you misbehave, the people can remove you. When you go and you're a good leader and you repent, they can bring you back. For me, it's a good thing. And clearly, it doesn't matter what happens in Ghana. Look, I can give you confidence, hope, that on the 10th or on the 9th, starting from the 7th of December, the MPP must go home, 1, to rebrand themselves, 2, to re-establish themselves as a political party fit for purpose, 2, they must go and reflect how much of power they have abused, how many Ghanaians they have hurt in the last 7 days, what they have done
7 years.
In the last 7 years. The activities they have undertaken, which just don't affect the people of Ghana, but will affect themselves. They must go home and reflect. And let me tell you, as we speak today, even within the MPP as a political party, they won't forgive Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and President Akufo-Addo. And if there is an opportunity for the MPP to have primaries today, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia would not emerge as a flag bearer of the MPP. Even within their own political party. Because the atrocities are so heightened.
You know this for a fact because?
I haven't been here for some time, so I have information. I've been working on the ground. Look, we have cycle.
You work with the NIB.
We have cycle, or NIB is a political entity now. They do surveys for government, but they
Mustapha
don't.
Gbande.
You have to be very circumspect.
They have done. You sat here. They did surveys.
Hold, Mustapha. That thing they did. This wasn't the first time they were doing that.
I
know that.
This is the first time I've heard it.
But this wasn't the
But
first
they've done 3 other ones. They should publish.
They collect intelligence.
Why are they not publishing what they have done?
On political parties, on how people on the ground feel about the political parties. They've been doing this for a long time.
The general mood.
It wasn't the first time.
But I'm saying that they should publish it because transparency in governance, even in security, is important. So you sit here, you should have authoritative report that suggests that an entity like NIB have gauged the mood of the country, and it says that the government of the day is unpopular.
But is it justified to paint them with a political paintbrush, knowing very well that governments alternate? Would it then be fair to say that under the NDC administration, they were also partisan towards the NDC? Because then that would be the analogy.
From the standpoint of recruitments into services of security, which have happened in the last 7 years. Look, under NDC, I can tell you, if you were not qualified to be in the BNI, both in terms
now the NIB,
you will not be recruited into it. If you were not qualified to be in the police service, you will not be recruited into it. So that is just by the way. So I'm saying that even the MPP themselves, today, as we speak, where do we get our information from? Where do you think we get intelligence from? The MPP today cannot orchestrate anything that we don't get to know. Because people within the MPP themselves, senior members, senior individuals, believe that they must go home.
You're saying you have moles within the top hierarchy of the NPP. So clarify for me,
yes, I'm saying
the
that
NDC has moles in the higher echelons of the MPP.
This government is fatigued. The individuals who have been carrying the government on their shoulders are tired because it's overwhelming governmental misconduct, from corruption to scandals to everything, mismanagement. They are tired. 2, it is only a few group of people around Bawumia who are keeping the momentum, of course, believing that Bawumia can be a president. The generality, and in fact, a chunk of the MPP senior officers believe that, not elected officers, I mean functionaries, to call them. They believe that they have done the unthinkable. They must go home and rethink and re-establish as a political party. And I'm telling you that, mark it. If the MPP gets opportunity to go back and reflect and bring a candidate that will be bought by Ghanaians, they won't bring Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Okay, well,
the new generation,
the elections,
the Jinapos, the Antes, the Samia Ukus, they will not allow a young man who have made a vice president leave Akufo-Addo for his faults. Leave Akufo-Addo for his fault. A young man, the youngest vice president, who have led us into this crisis. And you think it's pardonable?
Okay.
Are you not sad? The cost at which you buy energy today?
Sweetie Aboti will come in shortly, but a quick point. You made a point that you can be a bad president, go reform, and then are you by that tacitly saying that Mahama was a bad president during his first term?
No, I'm saying that you can be a bad president. Your outcomes can be bad. Your outcomes. You see, when the public feel that they do not want you, for whatever reason, it's a judgment. Okay, it's a court of public opinion that says, I don't like Akakpo. But when you leave the scene, it gives the opportunity for people to reflect and now examine, interrogate their own decision.
Right.
And I think that is where Ghana is today. That, look, we were not fair to President Mahama. And I think it was fair. It was fair that Ghanaians passed that judgment on the NDC and President Mahama at the time. It was again fair that Ghanaians allowed Akufo-Addo, President Akufo-Addo, to do 8 years. It now gave us a full-scale assessment of what it is that we are dealing with. It also gives us an opportunity to then see what we didn't get to know during President Mahama's regime. Because if President Akufo-Addo didn't become president, you wouldn't know that a president will come. And in 7 years, all they have told you is that we are going to do one district, one factory. They never did it. You wouldn't know that a president to be in Ghana who says...
There are some factories, though.
Some factories. Every government builds factories. Planting for food and jobs. Beautiful policy. You are very educated, very analytical. And then when you go to the ground, we don't see that. Failure. Planting for food and job was supposed to bring us food security. Today we are compensating farmers, shrouded in politics because what? Produce didn't do, just to divert attention. But there are evidence of how the planting for food and job logistics were distributed. You wouldn't have known that there's a government that will come, and in their policy and everything they do, they said we are going to build dams, okay? Only to see that they have chopped the money. Again, President Akufo-Addo will go down in history as the only president under whose hand permission was given for Chinese to go and destroy our water bodies and our environment, because maybe you are from Volta region. I have worked around from Oti, around the mining. Yeah, then you are from my region too. President Akufo-Addo knew that if you ask anybody to go and mine in a forest reserve, all our water bodies flow from the mountains and the forest reserves. So indirectly, there is no way, if you do not streamline any method of mining, that ensures that you don't wash even the gold around where you get your ore from. So the old method was deployed, where you dig and wash. You obviously wash into the water bodies.
Right.
Today, the outcome of it is that we will not get water to drink in the next 5 years. Today, Ghana water is struggling. All our water treatment. So you wouldn't have known that an old man of 80 years will be a president after you have accused a young man. And when he comes, all his legacy is scandals upon scandals. He has supervised broad day dissipation of the public purse. And for me, I think that is a statement Ghanaians are going to make again on December 7th. That's why it's unfortunate that President Mahama have gone and yet the light have been seen. Donald Trump was accused. He was tried. He was persecuted. Everybody accused him. He's vocal. He speaks his mind. Hello, we went for an election with a vice president. A vice president I call very noisy, lousy, and populist. Who claim they know more than.
I don't think those are fair.
Well, you can use that in the context of Ghana.
Please.
Look, when a vice...
No, please withdraw those.
I can withdraw. I withdraw. But when a vice president purports to know than his principal, okay, what description will you give to that vice president? Maybe you may advise me, but in the case of our country, when a vice president touts himself that even the works that have been done by DCEs were his handiwork, works that have been done by ministers are his handiwork, works that have been existing he has come to meet are his handiwork, I can tell you that that vice president would have made unrighteous statement that affects his own seat.
Right.
Because there are some statements you won't pass when your superior and your principal is still alive.
You know, we can say same for you, Mustapha Gbande.
Say same, yes, I agree.
Mahama has, committed to peace. But the party that he's leading, you are vehemently opposing signing this peace pact. You started by saying the NPP's house is not in order because even within the party, some things are going on. You may have moles in there. But here's your flag bearer saying that we are going to go into these elections. I am committed to peace, all that. And you are saying, you, the party, or should I say the executives, are saying that you're not committed to signing any peace pact. Whether or not you don't see the value of it, it's a clear disconnect in the party. So we can also say that you don't have your house in order. What's your argument?
Our house is in order, but up in arm. Okay? The NDC today is never the same NDC you knew in 2020.
What's different this time?
The 2020 NDC was still, surviving the shock of 2016. People were having their own reservation. Today, the NDC is united. You don't see fractions in us.
Where is the unity when your flag is saying one thing and the party executives are saying the other?
The party remains the party. The flag bearer, look, the disposition, the persona, the character of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is nationalistic. All times he has demonstrated that he stands for everybody. He has demonstrated that his duty as a human being is to raise people up instead of bringing people down. So you have opposite. One president comes, destroy businesses. Another president says, let me help businesses without reference to your political color. And you can say that of President Mahama. The NDC, I'm not like that. I have seen people being killed in an election. And so the position of the NDC is to say, look, we are not going to allow a system where the security services go to sleep and innocent Ghanaians are being killed. That will not happen. That NDC will rise up and will fight back.
Indulge me just for a second.
Yes.
You just said that the party is united, correct?
Yes.
And you say that the character or the persona of the president, the former president,
the incoming president, yes.
You know, requires or reflects what we are seeing right now.
No.
So where?
No, I didn't say that.
I
said President Mahama's character, his persona, stands nationalistic. He's for everybody. He's very humble. He's very compassionate. We all know that about him.
Right. And let me bring you back to the point that he has committed to peace.
Commitment to peace is different from, you know, signing peace pact.
He will do everything possible.
Yes. In fact,
and you, the party,
I can assure you that.
Are dissociating yourself from
Let me assure you.
Yet you're talking about unity.
Let me assure you. The NDC have no plan, no strategy on any table to cause violence in this election. No. The NDC has no plan to rig this election. I can tell you, for a fact, at best, what plan we have is a reinforcement to defend ourselves.
And what does that entail?
I'll tell you.
What are reinforcements?
The principal actors, when I'm standing and you slap me first, you expect me to keep running to the police station where I won't get justice?
So you're basically saying you can't trust the
That's
police.
not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that my reinforcement is that I shouldn't be a Ghanaian when I see my colleagues being killed. And I'm saying that the people who are peace actors, okay, are not the political parties. MPP wants to win, NDC wants to win. But in between, the laws have made provision that today, as we stand here, in the next 2 months, the destiny of this country is in the hands of IGP Dampare and the Ghana Armed Forces, not the political parties. So when you are...
the Ghana Police Service.
Yes, because they...
The Ghana Armed Forces.
Yes, I'll tell you. They serve as a buffer to ensure that Mustapha Gbande does not do anything that undermines the peace and security of this country. So if I do anything that undermines that, I should be arrested. Okay? 2, if we have a situation where, as we speak, they have gone to sew fake uniforms of fire service officers, immigration officers.
How did you come by this information? And how do you prove it?
Let me learn. I have not accused anybody, but I'm saying that they have gone to sew.
Who are they? Who are they?
I'll tell you. Let me land on my statement first. Uniforms, fire service uniforms, immigration uniforms, police uniforms, and some military officers who will be intruding, okay, into the election arrangements to cause violence. I expect the IGP and the CDS to identify his men and let political parties be aware.
No, but this is a very serious claim you are making.
Interrogate.
And
we have seen for the first time.
But if you're saying it, where is your evidence?
I can give you evidence.
On the back of what are you saying?
In 2020, the people who killed people in Techiman South, okay, there's a report that can tell you that.
Which report?
That the police or the military are not fully taking responsibility of same. I've had the occasion during registration to speak to the high command of the military. Have you deployed some soldiers to go and do some operation? He said, no, our men are intact. Where did they get the uniforms from? So I'm just saying that we should beware and guard the country against some of these things. It may even be external, attack on all of us.
So you're suggesting some infiltration into the security services?
Exactly. So I expect the IGP to be the architect, the chief architect of the peace process.
While you've not convinced me that you have evidence to that effect, what do you expect from the IGP on that front?
I expect IGP.
Let's assume there is some truth to it. How do you expect the IGP
a district police commissioner, a regional police commissioner or commander, your responsibility is to maintain a calm atmosphere of election. If the MPP would win, they should win at the back of their campaign. They should win at the back of their strategy. They should win at the back of their track record. If the NDC would win, we should win at the back of the strength of our candidate, our credibility, our campaign, and our convincing of Ghanaians to go and vote. Nothing more, nothing else. But if anybody's ambition in this election is to go and find a way, like today, as we speak, there are individuals whose names are being removed from where they vote and transferred to the other places. My own kid sister called me yesterday. When she checked her name, her name had been moved from her polling station to another place. That is a recipe for chaos. Okay? So the chief architects of our
Have you communicated this to the Electoral Commission?
Yes, I have done so. I've asked my deputy director of election to take it up. I mean, there may be omissions genuinely, they may be deliberate also, depending upon how the situation is dealt with. So we have reported. But I'm just saying that if you are asking political parties to accord peace, there was a prayer organized, national prayer. Let all political actors come so that we pray to God, demonstrate to the nation that despite our political differences, we are one people. The first gentleman of the land, who is supposed to be the chief architect of stability, he didn't come. President Akufo-Addo didn't show up. He was home taking tea. 2, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who is the current vice president.
He didn't show up, but you can't say he was home taking tea.
Well,
I mean,
he could be taking tea. President Mahamudu Bawumia, who is the vice president and also doubles as the leader of
He says he had to be at the youth event at the Boteman Sports Complex.
Hold on. President Mahama was campaigning in the north. He stopped his campaign, bought a flight, commercial flight, came back to Accra, inconvenienced his whole party and the people who are waiting for him. The vice president, who is the flag bearer of the MPP, was in Boteman.
I can agree with you to a certain extent.
You should agree with me. You should agree with me.
But you also agree with me that the signing of the peace pact, there too, your leader could also show leadership by signing the peace pact. Why is he not signing that one?
It is condemnable that a sitting president and vice president failed to show up for that occasion. That would have given us a symbol of unity and hope. To you sitting here that the NDC and the MPP are not going into war, but we are going for an election. Peace accord. The NDC have clearly shown that, look, quite apart from the fact that we are going into an election, we are victims of atrocities. We are carrying scars of people who have been killed, right from Ayawasu, West Wagon, Techima, South to Ejura, and all of that. I remember, may his soul rest in peace, Kaka, an advocate, a young man, who believed that government wasn't doing well.
You're referring to Kaka Macho?
Yes. We wake up one day and he was killed. Whatever it is, I'm not accusing anybody, but I'm saying that the NDC is carrying scars into this election. So if we say that because of past events, I want to know what has happened to the 8 people who were killed in the last 4 years or 3.5 years. What have been done about it? I think it's legitimate. I think it should be respected. Then I'm saying that before I sign, get the Electoral Commission to come and sit down and say that they will not allow people to manipulate their IT system.
But they have said that.
No, you trust their... I've always said that relationship...
That's a very good question I want to ask you. Let me just interject here. As far back as the time that we tried to remove the indelible ink,
and everything. Not us, Electoral Commission.
To the discrepancies we saw in the figures and all that. Yeah. The NDC has consistently been leading the charge to, for want of a better word, expose the issues in the EC's activities that could mar the integrity of this election.
Yeah.
And they've been doing some work to rebuild the trust of citizens and the voting population, really, in their systems, in their mandates to deliver free, fair, credible elections. Yeah. As we speak, how confident are you? Because they've done some work. They've let press into IPAC meetings. They've taken press round to printing places. Now we know that they've employed some 200 professionals with backgrounds in mathematics.
They dealt with the issues you brought up from Pusiga and other places.
Yeah.
So as we speak, have your confidence in the Electoral Commission risen past the whatever percentage it was when you started this year?
Yeah, so good work. But you see, the NDC is not, Afrobarometer as an institution is not an extension of the NDC. They interviewed the people of Ghana, including possibly yourself, and people have expressed their opinion about how they feel and would trust the Electoral Commission. Relationships of political parties with the Electoral Commission is not like a domestic husband and wife thing, where you have to trust your girlfriend she won't poison you and all of that. No. When the system functions independently of bias, professionally, administratively, the systems are functioning, then you would say that the Electoral Commission is unbiased, is professional, and willing to deliver a free and fair election.
Mustafa, I really don't want us to put a foot around this.
As we speak today,
how confident are you in the Electoral Commission?
You want me to trust a commission that, you see, when I say it, a commission that its consultant of IT sit in night meetings with the MPP and Dr. Bawumia.
Do you have proof of it? I keep saying that you listen.
That Bawumia invite you to his meetings.
The point is, you can't come and make an allegation here if you can't prove that this person... You can say that you think, but you can't come and say for a fact that this person is having nocturnal meetings with the vice president.
I think that the current consultant, IT consultant to the Electoral Commission is sent there on a clear-cut agenda. Two.
Based on what are you saying that? Based on what do you think that?
Based on things I know by intelligence. Because you see, when you are tracking intelligence, it's not like journalism where you speak about issues. You will ask me for evidence, and I won't give you those evidence. Okay, because I don't speak here as a communicator. I speak as a deputy general secretary, and I'm an operative. So I'll give you information that you don't know, because when you are sleeping, I am in the field. We have cycled the MPP 360, and we monitor what our opponents do. And I'm saying that when you were appointing...
you know that misinformation, disinformation in this politically charged
I don't misinform.
is dangerous for the voting populace. So you cannot make certain
It's good that I make you know.
Backing it with
it's good that I make you know that if President Akufo-Addo had come and picked Akakpo, okay, who is a Voltairean, but professionally, non-politically aligned. Yourself, you are a Voltairean, but non-politically aligned. Nobody can say that you like Mustapha because of his political color or you are NDs. I can't have that evidence about the two of you. But when he goes and appoints an officer of the MPP and a vice chairman's wife into the commission, you will open the room for people to have doubts. And by the time you mitigate those doubts, your integrity would have collapsed.
Okay, so we've dwelled on the Electoral Commission and a number of things. There's just an interesting picture here, though. The United States has decided, whether for good or for bad, they've chosen what they want as a people.
Yes.
I've already seen on social media the dynamics showing up. People, I even saw a picture where when Kamala Harris came to Ghana, you know, together with Vice President Bawumia, standing there with a crowd and similar shots and all of that, purporting that, oh, what has happened in the United States will happen in Ghana. I deal with empirical evidence. I don't deal with, so to speak, spirituality and some other things. Is there something you in the NDC are taking seriously that, oh, they've won there, so we're also going to win here?
Do you know that there have never been any spiritual projection, really, in the last few months that predicts the MPP a win? There is no...
President Akufo-Addo has even said that all these projections should be, you know, treated with.
Okay, when he was kneeling down and also Bempa pouring anointing on his head, that one was working. So, look, this atmosphere gives the ordinary voter an opportunity to say, I've regretted, and I have an option to correct my mistakes.
The atmosphere being what has happened in the U.S.?
The atmosphere that they overly bastardized Donald Trump. They felt he was a bad leader, but they chose a worse brigade of people. The Ghana situation is that they over-bastardized President Mahama, accused him, and it was right at the time, chose President Akufo-Addo, and we are living in regret, perpetual regret. Look, the MPP, today students are going to school. Where are the iPads they promised last 3 months? iPads. They said they are going to give senior high students iPads, for which reason they justify why they have not given fiscal curriculums for our students to learn. Where are the iPads? These are dangerous people around our destiny, particularly our children. Dangerous group of people who must make a political mark out of everything. Anything that they do should have a political dividend to them. Ghanaian people are living in a testimony of pain, regret, torture. Look, The businesses that are collapsing in this country, if you owed somebody last month in dollars, it was 16 to $1, isn't it? Today, it is 17.3. You would have to cough extra to redeem.
Let's go back to, as for the points you're making,
yeah, so
we are very conversant.
Let me land this one. They changed the finance minister just recently and said, oh, Ken Ofori-Atta was the wicked man of the government. He was the president's cars and he has stolen a lot. That's why the government is not doing well. They changed. They brought a messiah. The recent finance minister was holding,
he has a name, Dr. Amin Adam.
Dr. Amin Adam. He's my friend. He's my brother. What has happened to the dollar now? So the whole beam of these current crop setting up the government is a suffocation to our state.
Go to my substantive point.
Yes.
The Republican Party
yes.
has won. Is that going to reflect in any way on December the 7th? A former president, I mean, it doesn't happen often. A former president, one-term president, is coming back. Correct. And some are making these projections.
Watch tomorrow.
Is it the position of the NDC?
Tomorrow, the MPP will say that President Mahama is not a one-term president. Tomorrow, they will say that. They will change their position. But the record is that he's a one-term president. International politics, there is no permanent friend. They are allies. It changes as and when interests aligns. And I personally have not been proud of Joe Biden's government. Right. Any president that does not give you a clear-cut, bold position on issues, you should be very careful. Trump will give you his mind. He will state what he thinks, and he will let you know, and he takes responsibility for it. I'm like that. So I will say that Trump is my choice. But of course, the American people have realized that we made a mistake. He is a lesser devil. Okay? He was doing better than these people. Let's just go back for him. As for Ghana, people cannot wait for December 7th. I'm telling you, look, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia will be in shock. Will be in shock. And let me not raise your emotion. The handling of this government in the recent few weeks, as far as what is happening in Upper East and Northeast is concerned, it's a major concern to a lot of people. And even that alone, if you're
talking about Boku.
Yes. Even the fact that it's the backyard of the MPP's flag bearer, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who is a vice president. It doesn't matter who is being killed, but people are being killed. Now, if you are going to Boku, do you know where you pass? You go through Togo, you go through Sankase, and appear in another part of the... Why should we have this situation? Only because, and I am speaking to you as a student of security, and I challenge the security system. The duty of national security is to de-escalate. And if we are not being able to do this, I'm not playing politics with it, but I think government have failed as far as the Boku situation is concerned. And that will play a role in the December election. I'm hearing that the objective of President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is to declare a state of emergency in the place. But when we have laid the blame bare at the doorstep of the president, the national security, and the security architecture of this country, they should not punish the people further with what they want to do. When you do that, then you will have political parties getting into it. Because we are not going to sit down for them to repeat what they did in the Volta region in 2020 anymore.
You're referring to SAL?
No, the national security created secessionist thing that happened in the Volta region. We are not going to allow that to happen to the people of...
I thought you were even referencing the fact that it could end up disenfranchising the people in that community.
It's not cool. That is the whole objective of the government. To escalate the...
But you say these things with such certainty. I mean, people, you see, why sometimes I have to hold you back or peg you back is that there are also security analysts who have said that, indeed, there should be a state of emergency declared in that area, at least. So if the security people are saying, at least some of them are saying, there must be a state of emergency, so we deal with the issue. Yes, there may be political fallouts or consequences, but would you say that because of the political consequences, then they are only declaring a state of emergency to gain political capital? Would you say that?
I agree with you perfectly, and that is why I like to be with you always, for criticizing things I say. But also, have you heard Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, whose backyard this is happening, has he made a statement since this started? He's a leader. At least when I speak in OT region, it can calm nerves. when President Mahama speaks in Savannah in the northern region, it can calm situation. Forget Mampusis and forget Kusasis. We are all northerners. Have you heard the Vice President speak? Is he doing something behind that we don't know? Or he is busy trying to become a president when his backyard is becoming a ghost town? What is his priority? Charity begins at home. So I'm saying that before you say that the place deserves a state of emergency, which is a security measure, what are the lenient interventions of the government that would de-escalate? The government haven't done that.
Okay.
The political figureheads are self-motivated to look on for the situation to continue to degenerate. People are being killed. Okay? Police people are supposed to be between Wale Wale and Boku on the road. How come in the midst of all these barriers, people are able to intrude and are killing innocent people, and you think that is not deliberate? I should blame who?
So there
I should blame the president who is in Accra. I will blame it on the police service. I will blame it on the national security. And of course, everybody is supposed to brighten his corner. That is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's backyard. He should be saying that, look, guys, let us come together and go back home and calm nerves there. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia should actually take his phone and put politics aside and say, President Mahama, let's go back home and calm the place because we are all from the north. Particularly, that is his backyard. And it's being perceived that it is his people who are attacking other people. It gives him a bigger responsibility to intervene and de-escalate the situation. He's not doing that, and we are talking about state of emergency. Where?
All right, so your point is clear on that. I have two more issues I want you to look at, but I don't know whether Sweetie has an interjection. So let's look at it. There are two issues. The Speaker has said that he's going to, have this engagement. And we suspect, of course, from the statement that we saw, that he's going to also be talking about the recent interactions with the judiciary and the rulings and the back and forth and all of that. November 7, the date for the recall of Parliament. The Member of Parliament for South Dai has taken the matter to court to stay the hand of the Speaker on that. It's a long matter. What do you know about that, and what are your expectations in respect of Alban Bagbin?
I've not been speaking on this Parliament issue for various reasons. One, I think that it's unfortunate for the country that we are in this mess as a student of law. Two, I think that the judiciary, I think the Chief Justice should be worried and at least begin some image cleansing of the judiciary. I think for the purposes of national security, for the purposes of public assurance and trust, is very important. But of course, we are having this situation in Parliament because of leadership failure. And I would say...
Leadership failure in Parliament.
Part of the government side. And I would say that if Oseche Mensah Bonsu, with the greatest of respect to the leadership of Parliament, was still majority leader, we won't get to this crisis.
I've heard this said before. Yeah. I'm wondering why some of you keep saying
the
that.
Problem in
what is Afenyo Markin doing that is a problem?
In Parliament is a wisdom issue.
I think that's a low blow.
No, a wisdom issue because this is where you display your leadership ability. Look, let me tell you.
No, but you are by extension saying that the Efutu lawmaker who is
who
is the leader of their caucus is not exercising wisdom.
I'm saying that the crisis in Parliament is a wisdom issue. It's an issue that one must display high political leverage. Okay? We have few months to election. One duty of national security is to be able to contain opposition, for government to continue to run, even though they have failed. One business of having divides is to be able to leverage. We were going to pass a bill. The NDC vehemently said, we don't agree, right? They were able to rally some of our MPs to side with them. Why have Afenyo Markin lost track of that wisdom? To leverage his own colleagues. Look, the minority leader, Honorable Atuforsen, is a very good friend to Afenyo Markin. True or false?
Yeah, so, I've seen videos of them.
So if you apply wisdom, this is the point you humble yourself, okay, to call political leverage, to say, let's manage government business and move on. We appreciate the difficulty that we are confronted with, but let's manage. Even Joy, you receive your stray bullets, okay? Joy FM, this same entity was accused of removing the NDC from power in 2016 because you disagreed with the government. If today you disagree, a parliamentarian can label you as and I like the way Evans rendered that whole conversation very useless. His composure, his articulateness, the way he positioned himself, and the things he said showed wisdom. Again, so hot temper and unnecessary reaction doesn't win in politics. Your ability to go back and reflect and take an approach that gives you solution is what gives business of parliament. And I'm saying that if Osei Mensah was still a leader of the majority side, we will not get into this mess. The mess must be placed at the doorstep of a hot-tempered young man, a young man who is excessively reactive, a young man who I would say positioned himself to be very arrogant towards others, who cannot respect what humility means in terms of managing political
this is your opinion.
So you should expect Bagman.
He is doing, with the support of his party, he is doing what he believes is best for the party. His party does. Believe me,
I say that majority,
their side is supportive of what he's doing.
Some members of parliament at the majority front does not agree with.
Well, there may be some members of your side.
Let them go and vote. Let them go and vote on an issue today, and you will see evidence of the.
I want us to wrap with this. Unfortunately, Ekwiadonko of the GFP, the Ghana Freedom Party, has met her maker. We'll all go down that lane someday. But it has also stirred or muddied the waters as far as the election is concerned. Roman Father, as he's called, his alias, supposedly has replaced her, filed, but other elements, family members are saying no. I mean, what could be the fallout from that, the dynamics? And some have purported that that could end up shaking the numbers and affecting your number 8. Just quick thoughts on that. What are the permutations?
I'll say this on the basis of experience and persuasion. Madame Ekwiadonko is by far the Yasantua in our politics today. A woman from nowhere, she wants to do what the giants will do. Okay? And she's done it. She's been in the business. At best, we should respect her memory and the legacy she's left. The political party is a political party, registered, gazetted, accepted by the Electoral Commission. Family business remains family business. President Mahama doesn't run the party with his family. President Akufo-Addo or Dr. Bawumia doesn't run his family, his MPP party with a family. Don't forget, when you are a leader of a political party, you are detached from the administration of the party. If President Mahama wants to do something, he falls on the General Secretary and the National Chairman to get it done. Even your auxiliaries around you do not have portfolio to manage a political party. The party is structured.
So the point is?
So if the General Secretary, who is the chief administrator of the party, with the clear consent and involvement of the heir apparent, the running mate, we all know, forget who he is, decides to say, I'll come forward. A national organizer doesn't have the locus to write a letter to Electoral Commission saying we are withdrawing. In a proper political party, he should be suspended. And
okay, but for the sake of time, so just to hit the nail on the head, assuming the EC decides, okay, so this letter has come to us and we indeed are of the opinion that it's an option they could trigger, what then happens? Would you call for a new balloting or would there just be a replacement, which would then mean that maybe you would go to number 7 and all of that? What would that mean for the
2024 election is not going to be won on the basis of numbers. It has never happened that.
So you are open to a change of the number?
We are overemphasizing on numbers. But you know why we are overemphasizing? Because a certain political party printed 9 million worth of paraphernalia, embodying breaking the 8, and they lost the 8. So they have never relented. The 8 is with the NDC now. 9 million worth of party paraphernalia gone waste. They are
how did you get to know that one too?
I keep
intelligence, eh?
When I work in here.
Okay.
We know where they sleep. We know where.
Get it.
So
I
you
get
see,
it. Okay.
The MPP is behind all these things that is going on in the Ekwiadonko's party to try and see how they can get the EC to change and all. But don't forget, we have printed. God punish them. We have printed 90% of the presidential ballots. If you do cost and benefit analysis, the implication on the country's budget and the budget of the Electoral Commission, nobody should be entertaining this conversation.
All right.
I think that the national organizer should not even be entertained on your show. He is in a business of insubordination, disrespect to party administration, and should be sanctioned by his party.
I think
nobody should entertain
we'll end it
that
here.
conversation.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much.
Tell the MPP to stick to their number one, and let us go into an election where the voting will be based on issues. Number one will not look. Dr. Bawumia was handed over a whole country.
Okay.
He messed this up. He's now managing the country with a call. What do they call? Call
Mustapha
center.
Gbande.
Call center.
It is.
He's saying call center will make him a president.
Mustapha Gbande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, and I had my own in-house guest who keeps smiling, Sweetie Abochi.
She likes the conversation.
As well.
Don't you?
Now, we're going to take a bit of a breather. When we return, we also want to take your thoughts on the new curricula as proposed. What are your thoughts on them? Some parents seem to be confused about it. We'll be taking your thoughts on that. You know that number to call. That number will be flashing under your screen after the break. Do stay.